Hello, welcome back to the Twisted Cast, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about our overall thoughts and review of Twisted Metal 2012. This was the last released game in the Twisted Metal series. Can't believe it's already been this long. Like 2012 was a long time ago, but it doesn't feel that long at the same time. It's kind of weird, but yeah. Sadly, we haven't seen anything yet except for the television show. But thankfully, with the success of that, hopefully we will get a new game in the near future, but there hasn't been any confirmed reports of that as of yet. That being said, I guess starting out of when I first got into the game or when I first played 2012, it was when the game released. I remember I pre-ordered it. It was actually the second game in the series that I pre-ordered before purchasing it the day of release. The first one was the remake, or not the remake, but the remaster or whatever of Head On the PS2. I remember I pre-ordered that one, got it at midnight release or whatever. And then the PS3 version, I pre-ordered as soon as it was available because I don't know if you guys remember the big E3 event when they released, or like they said, hey, we're making a new Twisted Metal. That was the craziest thing that I remember as a kid watching on E3. And I was just jumping up and down like, holy shit, Twisted Metal is being recognized. It's in the mainstream now. Holy crap. And yeah, I was super excited for 2012. I remember I bought a PS3 about a month or two prior to the game's release. I didn't really have a need for one up until then. And is actually, ironically, is what got me, like, after I got 2012, is actually what got me into, like, Call of Duty and a ton of other games I still play to this day. But I wouldn't have gotten into those games, I don't think, if I didn't want to buy 2012 because I didn't need a PS3 up until then. But needless to say, the game launched and there was a lot of issues with the multiplayer. We'll get into that later. But it was still a lot of fun. Like when it did work, I had a lot of fun with the multiplayer at the time when the servers were alive. And I had a lot of good things, good memories with this game, but it had its issues. But of course, we'll get into that later. But I'm actually curious, winners, were you also an early adapter of this game, or did you play it later in life?
No, I was definitely an early adopter. I remember I was kind of the same boat as you were. I remember seeing that E3 reveal where they played that trailer and they had that Sweet Tooth ice cream truck come out, and I was like, oh shit, they're releasing a new fucking Twisted Metal game, and I was like,
Yeah,
I was super excited, super stoked. I already had a PS3 just because of Metal Gear Solid 4, so it was kind of like finally have a good reason to whip it out again and play the game. And I didn't get it day one. I think it was like maybe day two, day three. I don't. It was just whenever my brother was able to take me to the GameStop to go grab it, and we grabbed it. And I remember I spent a good chunk of time in the single player, and I thought like it was kind of like a nice warm up to eventually trying the multiplayer. And yeah, definitely mixed feelings about the game and the multiplayer overall. But I I appreciate it for what it is for the most part. It's not a perfect game by any chance. And kind of like what you said, where like at least what Nick said was like, we have a Twisted Metal TV show, and they're broaching Twisted Metal again. So hopefully if there is a future game, kind of look back on lessons learned on what not to do when releasing a Twisted Metal game.
right.
But Twisted Metal PS3, yeah, I only played it for a couple of weeks. And I to be honest, I just gave up on the game. There was just so many better games out there at the time. I mean, when there were so many problems, I was kind of like, you know what, fuck this, going back to Skyrim. Because that only released like a few months before, so it was just kind of like, fuck it, I'll just play something else, and I ended up just playing something else and forgot about the game. So
Yeah.
that was kind of my story on it. Drew, how did you first play Twist Metal PS3? Were you an early adopter like Nick and myself?
Oh hell yeah, 3 for 3, man. Yeah, no, I got this game, day one, pre-ordered it, the whole thing, and I love that reveal. It was June 15th, 2010, and I remember that because it was my birthday, like my 13th birthday.
Oh,
Oh
really?
I
hell
watched
yeah!
that announcement. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
And ever since then, I followed the development of the game, all the promotional stuff leading up to it. And then when I first played the demo that released like 2 weeks before the game actually came out, They let you play one level with one vehicle. You could play Sun Springs, California with Death Warrant
Oh
with like
my
6
god, I
enemies.
remember that.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right.
Yeah, the demo.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
ever since I played that demo, I was hooked on the gameplay. Like when I think of this game, it's sort of it's the anti Twisted Metal 2 for me. It's because Twisted Metal 2, I love everything about the game except the gameplay. And with Twisted Metal 12, I love everything about the gameplay, but nothing that surrounds it. Really, like the stories are weak. The multiplayer unfortunately didn't work the way it's supposed to. But just the actual gameplay, the controller being in my hand playing it, it's the best in the series to me. And I love it so much. And I'm so excited to talk about it.
Hell yeah.
But KongDoo, bring the energy down. How was your first experience with Twisted Metal PS3?
It was when I streamed it. I've said it a bunch of times about when this released. Like I didn't have a PlayStation 3 until I think it was like a month ago. I don't remember when did you get a PS3, Nick? I forget. Like the second time.
It was actually like 2.5 months ago.
Yeah, so it was around that time. It was somewhere around 2.5 months ago. I remember playing. The only thing I've seen beforehand is the stories. Like I watched the cutscenes out of curiosity, but that's about it. And the game itself, like the core gameplay, is it's fun. You know, it has I think the feeling is the best in the franchise when it comes to like the core gameplay. It's just like when you look at that game and the landscape it released in, it's like come on.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's a joke when you look at it at the grand scheme of things. Like people always, defend this game, I don't know why, but they do. And they pretend like it's like 2001. It's like this game released at the tail end of the 360 PS3 era.
Yeah.
Like it's just not enough at the time period. Like I would just be like, if I purchased this game pre-order, I'd be pissed. That's really about it. I would have been mad. Like, sure, like the multiplayer would have been fun for a little bit, but
yeah,
even still, it's like, is it really sustainable for a long period? Like,
if it
probably
worked,
not. I mean, yeah. Aside from if it just say it did work, like, would it really be sustainable for like a long period of time? Like, probably not. I mean, of course, like the hardcore players would stay around, obviously, but because everything always has like its hardcore fan base. But I just don't see it really being enticing enough to people to stay around, I don't know. And with the stories, they're just not good. I don't know what else to say about that. But I do like the core gameplay. That's the one thing I hope, like whenever they make a new Twisted Metal, is they take that aspect. I like that a lot, like the way it feels. It's very fast and very fun. It's just they need to like actually make the game have like content and like not feel like a soulless piece of shit, basically. What about you, Dave? I'm actually curious with Dave because I've never heard you talk about this game one time, like ever.
Yeah, I never have talked about it, but I will now. So the first time I played it was actually at E3, so I got hands on.
Insider.
During that E3, it was a bit different. A lot of people don't know, but they had at the E3 version, if you were to hold down brake and then turn left or right, you could do like a little jump jet turn.
What?
With little thrusters coming out of the car to do quick jumps around.
Oh.
And it looks like they took it out. And it's funny because that was one of the designs we had from Small Brawl, like back in the day.
Stealing stuff.
I mean, Sony probably has all the old docs, and every time they're thinking about making a new game, they go in and they just look through and lift stuff up, because also the damage reticle where you see it like flash red in the 4 quadrants, that was from Paint Brawl. So that was also a design
wow.
from way back in the day. I don't know if they took that design or they even remembered it, or they just came to the same conclusions, which is very possible in game design. But I noticed those things in it. But yeah, I played it in E3 a little bit, and then I started playing it the last 2 days to kind of get up to speed for this particular podcast. And it's interesting. I like some aspects of it quite a bit, but then there's a lot of shit I do not like in this game. And it's mostly the way the AI handles, and I'll go into that a little bit later during the podcast.
Sure.
but I do remember playing it at E3, and I was kind of messing around. And I think it was one of their new playtesters from Incognito. And he's like came over and he starts chatting with me. I think I told the story before. And I said, "Oh, this the California level reminds me of Suburbs from Twisted Metal Black." And you could see the wheels turning in his head. He went silent for a second and he goes, "Hey, that's an insult."
Oh,
And he goes, and he sits there and he's like all pissed off. So I'm playing around and he's behind me mocking me as I'm playing the game, going, "You're not very good. You kind of suck at this, don't you, for a Twisted Metal dev?" And I'm like, "Dude,
bruh.
Yo, what
it
the
was
fuck?
like, I was like, wow, man, you're this kid, and it's your first job in the game industry, and you're taking pot shots at me."
You got that
I just
salty.
after the end of the match, I just got up and left. But he was one of these like ska kids with the blonde hair in dreads going down to his waist, and just lots of
Oh,
attitude.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like those dreads tell me everything I need to know about you, man. But yeah, that was the first time I played it. I thought it felt good and it had a lot of interesting additions to the overall franchise.
Mhm.
And the way it handled back then was they had it all set up for multiplayer, and there was no single player at E3, so it was a better experience than when I played over the last 2 days with the final product.
Wow.
Because there's a lot of AI shenanigans I do not like in this overall game.
Yeah.
But overall, they did some really clever things too, and I will give that its due too.
Yeah. I think that's kind of going to be the main overarching theme with this game. Is as clear as day. It was a multiplayer first, and I think it's pretty well known now. It's a fact that, I mean, David Jaffe himself has said it multiple times that it was originally a multiplayer only concept game. Like it was going to be like a $30 digital download, and at the last minute, well, they said last minute, but I think Drew, I think you did some research on this and you found out that it was what, a year, 2 years left of development, and then they said let's get single player made.
I don't know, because when they showed at the E3 presentation that we've been talking about,
yeah,
that was a year and a half before the game came out, like a year and 8 months or whatever,
right?
And there was no single player like talk at all in that conference, so it must have been after that for sure.
Okay, so yeah, so let's say they had a year to create the whole single player experience, in which, to be fair, if they were able to do the entire single player experience in 1 year, I got to give them some props for that, because there is a lot to it. It's a long, like 6, 7, maybe even 8 hour first try playthrough, but it just sucks that, they went away from the traditional formula of every character has their own story and you can go through it multiple times. There's endless replay value. Instead, they decided to make it 3 storylines that you go through in one playthrough, one succession playthrough, and then you're stuck with, once you beat it, you can redo the whole thing again, but now you're just dealing with the same storylines throughout the whole thing again. And they also switched up the formula of the gameplay, so sometimes it's deathmatch, sometimes it's new game modes, or the really unique boss battles that are so ridiculously, stupidly hard that they're not fun to play over.
Or my favorite, racing.
That too. And like, honestly, what's funny is I hated the racing events back in the day when the game first came out. I remember only hating the racing events. I didn't even hate the bosses. But coming back to it, I guess later in life, like as an adult, playing all the other old games, and then now coming back to the PS3 version, I was really astonished at how the racing events didn't bother me as much, just because I think I remembered the race, like the level. So I could get through it pretty easily first try. Whereas the boss battles, like I got stuck. I can't tell you how many times I got stuck on like Iron Maiden. I had to restart that like 8 times. And this is on the twisted difficulty, by the way, like the hardest difficulty. So,
oh god,
it was one of those things where like I just didn't remember it being that fucking hard. I really didn't. But yeah, it's ridiculous. And then they're just so long too. Like even if it's not difficult, like even if you're playing on an easy, it's still like a 15, 20, 30-minute fight. And it's just like it's too long-winded, too drawn out. And then again, it just doesn't want to make you play it again. So it all comes back to, I had the most fun. I think everyone agrees, like the most fun you can have with this game is playing it in multiplayer with other human players. Because when you get into an online match and you're going against 3, 4, 6, 10 other players, like it is a blast. It's a hell of a fun game. It's just when you're stuck only playing single player by yourself versus the AI, it really shows its true like lackluster colors. Like what Kong said, is like no life to it.
Yeah, lots of people always say that stuff about like the older games. They're like, oh, we did that with the older games though, and it's like, yes, because those are older games. You know, it's like this wasn't 1995 when this released. Like this, you could just play this by yourself. Like, sure, like because I mean, granted, I guess the multiplayer didn't work very well. I have no idea. I didn't play it when it came out, but you know, and the landscape was starting to like go towards more of a multiplayer centric era of gaming. So you could just play a different game with other people, or you could play a dysfunctional game by yourself. You know what I mean? It's like the equivalent of like playing Call of Duty with bots in a private match. It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah,
it's
interesting.
That's what this feels like.
Yeah.
It's interesting because what you guys are mentioning here with like the push for multiplayer and kind of the budget title this is going to be. This was about the same time that Vigilante 8 Arcade was doing the exact same thing. Like they were going for a budget title on 360 that was mostly multiplayer focused.
Yeah.
And they did a lot of these same egregious things that I saw here in this version.
Yeah, they stripped a lot out.
Where they made gigantic levels and they seemed to focus more on making it visually pretty and really skipping over the polish that the gameplay needed. Like I could draw a lot of parallels to these two. Like this was actually gonna be one of my comments during this podcast. Is this game reminded me a lot of Vigilante Arcade in the way that it was going to be a budget title, the way it felt, the way the AI felt, how it was very multiplayer focused. Because balancing AI is really hard, but you know what? Players are really good AI and they're cheap. You need some good network code in there and some decent balancing. But it's, again, like these two titles kind of popped up and did the same thing at the same time, but from two different companies. And I know like that the what was it, Isopod at this point, the old Lexo guys had no insight into this game. And it's weird that they also kind of followed the same blueprint of what the publishers were pushing at that time.
Was Vigilante 8 Arcade in 2012? I thought it was like really early on in the 360 life cycle.
I forget the exact date.
It was 2008.
Oh wow!
So that was like 2 years. So it was like 2 years after or 3 years after the 360 released.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they did the exact same thing. Like both of them did it. It's just like, we're going to do a budget title. It's going to go, on. It's going to be digital only for the most part, though. Obviously, 2012 went with a physical print, and then just multiplayer focused, super pretty with big levels, and that's it. We'll call it a day.
Maybe they didn't have confidence that it would sell well.
I think that's probably a good assumption. The assumption was, from a lot of the publishers, would be my guess was, Auto Combat has had its day, at least we think, but we still hear rumbling in the fan base. Let's throw something together really cheap and see if it sticks. If it does, then we'll lean into this again. If it doesn't, well, then we're only out like, I don't know, $3-5 million, whatever they spent on, V8 Arcade, and then I have no idea what the budget was for 2012. But my God, all the licensed music in it, it must have been expensive.
And there was a lot of marketing. Like I remember there was a lot of commercials.
Crazy. I really liked their E3 reveal.
Yeah.
That truck. The commercials.
Well, they had that campaign right before the game came out where you got to shoot that truck with the machine gun that was operated over the internet.
Thing. That was so cool. I love the advertising they did. They put so much money into it. They did like an Activision play of that. Just pumping so much money into advertising. But
yeah. And I think in like the long run, I think it worked. I mean, it sold to people who never heard of Twisted Metal. Because
the clown game with cars, yeah.
Like I specifically remember friends from school. I think I might have said this on the podcast in an earlier episode, but I remember being in class in high school, and I'm the only one I thought at the moment that knew what Twisted Metal was. And I had a group of friends at the time. I was like 6 guys, and I remember they were all talking about Call of Duty coming out, Modern Warfare 2 coming out at the time. And I remember one guy was like, "You guys see that clown, like the car combat game coming out?" And I'm like, "Are you talking about Twisted Metal?" He's like, "Yeah, that's the one." He's like, "I might get a PS3 just for that game," because they all had Xbox. And of course, I bought a PS3, so I'm like, "Yeah, dude, do it. Like, buy a PS3, play with me." And 3 of my friends ended up doing that. They bought PS3s just to get Twisted Metal. I can't tell you if they were happy with that purchase at the end, but
shit.
but the fact that they did that, and I was one of the people that did that, I can't. There's probably hundreds of other people that did the same thing, where not just that they bought the console for that game, but they went out of their way to buy that game because of the commercials they saw, like the marketing from it.
Curious of how many copies it sold, or if the game like broke even, or
I couldn't
profit, I
find
don't know.
anything on that, honestly.
That's my question too.
I read somewhere it's under 1 million. I
Is it
forget where I
really?
read it, but that's been in my
Holy
brain for
shit.
years.
That's
That
really
it was
bad.
under 1 million. It was like I think it was
If it was under
750,000 or
1
something.
That's
Yeah.
not good. If it was under that,
That's
not good at all.
it'd be a failure.
Yeah.
And according to Jaffe in some interviews that he's done, he claims the game made its money back, but it didn't really make profit.
Really?
So they recouped
sounds
the
like
cost of
Small Brawl.
development, but nothing really past that.
Jesus.
I mean, I saw that. I remember seeing a similar advertisement here. I'm reading Twisted Metal has sold about 500,000 copies in 2 months. I did see
$500,000
that.
in 2 months. Okay.
Yeah, when it first released. So
Yeah.
maybe it was like maybe the word spread, like the internet doesn't, or like the multiplayer doesn't work, and no one bought it, or maybe just everyone was excited and then just no one cared afterwards. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's always going to be a niche genre, niche franchise. So I don't think they expected it to sell, like hotcakes anyway. But I think it underperformed even what their expectations were.
I mean, especially with advertising money. I mean, they may have gotten their like development costs back, but advertising wise, like I don't know.
Yeah, that I'm not sure. When he says it made its money back, he didn't really specify if it's, the cost from the studio or Sony's cost for marketing. But
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of money put into this game for sure, whether it was development, marketing, the licensed music.
All the above.
Twisted
I mean,
Metal
they really-
birthday bundle.
What?
What was that?
The Twisted Metal birthday bundle. I saw an advertisement for it.
Birthday bundle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Never heard
I
of
guess they were bundling all the games on PS3. I guess
Oh shit.
that's nice.
Huh.
This
I
is
did
in
like-
2013, so it's a little bit late. But
Yeah. I did like if you bought this game day one, you got Twisted Metal Black bundled with it.
yeah, that's what it has as Black 1 and 2. It's like it's
Hmm.
the Twisted Metal the birthday bundle. I guess probably digital sales or something.
Doesn't come with 3 and
I don't
4.
know.
I'm out.
No,
No
those
small
weren't
brawl.
on.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Those weren't on PS3.
Lame.
Yeah, I'm looking at the team size. It looks like internally about 50, and then a couple additional art services and stuff pumps up to 70, and that's before you even hit the Sony credits. So
Yeah.
this was a pretty expensive game once you add in the marketing and all the licensed music.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't surprise me. I bet this was a very expensive project.
The licensed music wasn't even good.
No, it was terrible.
I didn't like
there was
any of the
I think they had
songs.
NWA in there for some reason, which is like the worst choice I think for this game.
Yeah.
It didn't fit.
I mean,
Yeah.
look, it's great
It was
music, but it
weird.
does not fit whatsoever.
Not one
mean,
Rob
they-
Zombie track, bro.
Yeah,
No, there is.
Yeah.
They have a
Yeah,
Super Beast and
Dragula.
Dragula, I think.
What? Wait, what
Yes.
is there?
yeah, Dragula was in it.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
it was.
I didn't remember that. I always
I
turn
didn't
it
know.
off, I guess. So
I had
forgot.
when I played it, I had to turn the music off anyways.
Yeah.
I remember hearing
Well, this was the
Dragula.
first game I played that you got to import your own music into it. If you had like MP3s or whatever on your
Really?
PlayStation,
Oh,
you
I
can
do
play
remember
it.
that. Yeah.
Like you had a
Yeah.
custom music soundtrack, and this was the first game that I saw that had that. I think maybe GT5, Gran Turismo had it.
The
Mhm.
360
really
could do that with every game though, because you could just shut your audio off and just have your MP3 playing in the background.
That's
yeah,
true.
that's
Yeah,
amazing. I've never heard of a game where you could actually put in your own soundtrack. Not like you could pull out a PS1 disc and put in a
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. The Vigilante
CD
hates
into-
that, right?
Yeah,
Was it?
but Kong is right. You could have in the dashboard, like the cross media bar, or whatever it's called, when you pull up the dashboard in a game, you can play music from
Yeah.
that while you play. So you could do it with
Yeah.
every game, but for PS3, you
It was
couldn't.
cool. It was
Right.
really cool.
Yeah, it was weird. Like it was very. They picked some good songs. You're right, but it was really jarring to go from Dragula into Ice Cube, and I was just like,
Yeah.
what? Like right in the middle of the level,
Yeah.
it's just like this. Where's your sound designer? Like somebody just took the songs they liked off
Yeah.
of their girlfriend playlist and just threw it in here.
No,
Yeah,
you're
it's
you're
just
absolutely
really-
right. That's
needs
exactly
flow.
what happened. It was Scott Campbell and David Jaffe. They would send each other like links on iTunes, like, "Hey, let's put this in the song or in the game," and they
You're
would send it to
kidding
Sony. Sony would say, "Okay, yeah, we can afford that," or "No, we can't afford that, but here's a song that sounds like it," or "Hey, we can re-record that."
Well, that was like
Like, that's
AC/DC
literally
they
what they
wanted,
did.
but they ended up getting that one that sounds just like a ripoff.
Yeah, Airborne. Yeah, they
Yeah.
got the band Airborne.
It's so
never
bad.
never licensed music. That's like video game 101. Just like
Don't do it.
they got their own person for Black. It works perfectly.
Yeah.
Like we got our own shit for V8. It works perfectly, and it was a fraction of the cost. I bet they spent, I don't
Way
know,
too
$300,000 to
much.
$500,000 on probably music licensing for this.
right.
Right.
Like,
And
that's-
especially if you want to be a multiplayer game with people playing it online and streaming it, you
Yeah.
know, licensed music is going to kill
Well, this
that
was way
entirely.
before.
That wasn't
streaming,
taken
yeah.
into account anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nobody
Well, I'm
thought
sure,
of that.
but man, that's got to be a sin to have licensed music in that capacity.
It just
Yeah.
it always hurts the chance of the game's future for like a remake. But
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, and also, I mean, it cuts in the profits too, but like, I think I told this story a while back where Activision was trying to push some of their music artists on us, and Incubus was one of them, and they had the song
Yeah.
called Drive.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this sounds expensive. And I was like, nope, doesn't fit with the game. So I just like,
We're
I don't
out.
want to cut these guys, this unknown band a check, you know? Obviously they turned out to be big, but
Yeah.
it was the right move, for like, we got some really kicking music that actually fit with the game and that 70s flavor, and then we can stream the
Right.
shit out of it now. Like it was, I didn't plan it that way, but that's just the way it happened, and it's for the best just to make your own music.
Yeah. And nowadays, thankfully, developers don't need to add licensed music at all because every system, like no matter what you're playing on, PC, PS5, Xbox, doesn't matter. You can play your own music in the background with Spotify or whatever. We have so much stuff at our fingertips that it wouldn't make sense. And it's funny because there is still games that have licensed music in it. And it's like, why? Why are you doing that? Because there's no reason for it. Because like Drew brought up, like now, of course, nowadays more than ever, streaming and content creation is so big that you're basically shooting yourself in the foot if you're putting licensed music in your game, and especially not giving like an option to turn it off. And it just, I don't understand like why developers
it gets
strategy
for an
is-
artistic purpose, you know, like the opening for Twisted Metal Black, like that riff of Paint It Black.
Yeah.
I mean that's so perfect, but it's very minimal. You know, it's
Right.
not pervading the entire game.
Right,
Yeah,
you know.
and that
the
was a
trick lots of
trend.
games do is they copyright their own soundtrack. Like Square Enix does that.
Mhm.
You can't stream their music because you're gonna copyright strike.
Yeah.
I hate
We
that.
saw that
shit.
with Twisted Metal 1 and 2, right? They're starting to copyright those. So
Yeah.
There is a way for them to protect their own original soundtracks.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and this was a trend back in the day. I think it went back to like Wipeout XL on the PS1 where they got Outcast, I think it was, with Firestarter. No, not Outcast.
gosh.
Oh god, it was Firestarter. It was something.
Yeah.
Why
you
can't I
talking
think
about
of their name? Prodigy, thank you.
Yeah.
And so this was a fad back then because a lot of companies like Sony and Activision had music labels or were ties to them. And they're just like, how do we make these guys relevant? I know. We'll stick them in a video game and they'll blow up. And then that's where that trend started to come from. And it's lasted over the years. But
Yeah.
I think we're seeing now it is not a wise thing, both financially and for streaming.
Right. And talking about shooting themselves in the foot, I don't, for the life of me, understand why Sony decided to put all this, basically turn it into a cash cow, shoving all this money into this game that they knew was at the end of the life cycle of the PS3. The PS4 literally launched, what was it, the next year? Like 6-7 months later. So it's like, why didn't they just tell them, hey, spend an extra year, extra 2 years, whatever, on development for a launch PS4 game, so that then it would be a reason to buy a PS4 and not an old PS3 system at that point. And then
I think
Yeah, I think you got your dates mixed. It's like a year and a half difference.
was a year and a half after the PS4 came out.
it was the end of 2013 was the new generation at the time. So this was the
Okay.
beginning of 2012. But also I think that this game was in development for a long time. If that E3 reveal was in
Yeah.
2010, the middle of 2010, they've probably been working on the game for, I don't know, let's say 8-9 months.
Well,
Right.
This
they
game was
also
probably-
teased it during Head On as well. On
Right.
PlayStation
So
2,
I think
so.
at minimum it was in
2008.
pre-production around 2008, maybe full production in 2009 to show off at E3 2010.
Yeah.
And then the first intended release date was, I think it was October 4th, 2011, 10/4/11 was like what the trailers show. And so I don't think that the February 2012 was the target from the beginning to be that close to the end.
Right. I'm
Plus, they
curious to
couldn't- probably couldn't
know
change it.
what like or how long the development times were for the launch games on PS4. Like when did they start making those games? Because I would probably bet money that they may have started around like 2010, maybe 2009 even.
Yeah, it could be.
Well, I think it's just
let's see.
PS3 development. It's just a pain in the ass. Like that's
Right.
because that console's a piece of shit. Like I hate the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
Because
It is.
it's just developing for that thing is it's awful.
So processing.
And it's just and just I just hate the console because of that, and also
Yeah.
because of that, like that recording it is a pain in the ass as well. So
Yeah, I mean, standard
Yeah.
dev time back then was about year and a half for these type of projects.
Oh,
But if it
wow.
was a budget one, like it wouldn't surprise me if it was slated for a year.
Yeah.
But knowing Jaffe and Campbell, because of their connections with Sony, they always got extensions of like 6 months to a year on this stuff. Like I know God of War, the first one, when Jaffe was showing it to me, he showed me a complete level that took him like, I think he said 4 to 6 months to make, and he's like, yeah, it's not what I wanted, so we threw it out. I was like, what are you doing? Like that's half the normal dev cycle. And he's like, yeah, I'll just
God
get more
damn.
time. And I was like, God, I wish I could do what you do, like as far as like getting extensions and stuff
That's
like that
awesome.
on contracts. But I'm pretty sure they did that with this too. It's just like, what budget title? You want single player now? You better give us like another 6 months, 8 months, a year, whatever.
Right. Because yeah, I just it's such a pain because it's like if this game would have came out on PS4, I think like obviously it's hard to say, it's impossible to know, but I really do think it would have lasted longer. It would have stayed up longer with its online servers. I think that DLC would have been realistic, like it actually could have came out, and maybe would have had more games launched after the fact
Yes,
instead of
if it
you
was
know-
on
Yeah.
the PS4, yeah, it definitely
Yeah.
would have been.
It-
And
and
also
also,
compatible now.
Oh
If it
yeah,
was
it
a
also
launch-
would have
yeah.
given something people to play at launch because those consoles
Yeah.
had no games to play. So
It'd be a
Exactly.
perfect release title.
Kong
It would've been a
hit it right
perfect
on the
launch.
head. All launch titles sell really well. So because this was at the end of the cycle, like Small Brawl was,
Mhm.
it didn't do as well as it should have. If it was a launch title on 4, it would have probably done 50%, maybe double
Yeah.
what it did.
yeah, people don't care about the game; they just want the console. So
And then like
when
they
it's
want
brand new,
games to
so-
play with the console. And I think the PS4 had the
Yeah.
least amount of console exclusives at launch that I can
Yeah,
remember in like the past
the
like
PS3 and Xbox One had those consoles were terrible when they released because there was no games at all. You might as well have just play it. Everything you had, you could just play on the previous generation. So
yeah, because I think it was like Ghosts, like Call of Duty Ghosts, which was already
Yep.
on PS3, but they're like we're
Right.
gonna make a remake or not a what do you call it like
an updated
an
version, yeah. It's a
updated
little bit more
version.
powerful. Yeah.
yeah
Mm.
for PS4 there was I think Killzone was a launch title,
Yeah, Killzone Shadowfall.
Yep.
which
Yep.
I think that game was terrible, wasn't it?
It was awful. Yeah, but that, I mean, I was an early adopter of the PS4, or at least my dad was, and that was like
Yeah,
the one
same.
game we had. 'Cause that's just what came with it at the time. It was
Yeah,
awful. But
yeah,
yeah,
mine
you couldn't play
mine
anything
came with
else.
it.
And you have
Yeah.
like a Madden game. Madden 25 came out, and
Oh,
then
Hell yeah.
And Black
you
Flag,
know whatever the Call of Duty is that year. And, yeah, Assassin's
Yeah,
Creed. Black
Assassin's
Flag.
Creed. Yeah,
Which was really good.
yeah, that was the
Yeah, I
only
just-
one I played was Black Flag. I like that one.
It's just strange, like how this stuff happens, or like if they just if Twisted Metal 2012 got released on PlayStation 4, it would have done better. Like the same thing happened with the Halo franchise. With Halo 4 was supposed to be an Xbox One launch
Yeah.
title, and they just moved
Oh,
it
yeah.
backwards. And I don't even know
100%.
why. It was a stupid idea, like to do that, because it's like it's a launch title, would have sold more,
Yeah,
would have had better advertising. You could have just bundled
I-
it with the console, and people would have just been like, "Oh, I want a PS4. I want this console." And
Yeah,
bought it. They
I
don't
really,
care about
I
the
really
game.
hated that time period of gaming. It just felt everything was so off with releases.
yeah.
Like you. Like,
I think that's
like
when
you
money
were-
started to come in. They started figuring out how profitable gaming was, and then that's when it all started. They started knowing how big of a cash cow it is.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
overtake movies one day.
I think it already
Microtransactions.
has. Pretty sure.
Oh no, we did like I want to say 5-6 years ago. We make way more than movies do. Right
Gaming's
now.
the largest entertainment facet on the planet, so
Oh
it's
yeah.
not shocking at all that games are as like grimy as they are with money, because it's the biggest entertainment on the
Well,
planet.
like they even have that thing, that hot topic right now with people were getting pissed off because they turn on their Xbox, and at the home screen of the Xbox, there'd be a gigantic advertisement that'd pop up on your front screen that you can't get past it
Hell yeah.
unless you hit like, go to the right and hit no, and it's for Call of Duty. And apparently they did it for Starfield as well. Like they had just a giant advertisement like buy Starfield today. And it's like I was watching a YouTube video about this, and at first I was kind of like, who gives a fuck? Like, yeah, it's a game that's for the system. Of course they're going to advertise it. But then somebody was saying, well, who knows, in 5 years from now, maybe even earlier, they might just start putting a Coca-Cola ad like pop up on your PlayStation 7, and you have to just click out of it. And it's like that would be so fucking annoying.
I will make
do Dorito stuff.
I'll make a prediction.
Do that. I mean, I do own a Series X. That's my main gaming platform, and I haven't gotten the big splash screen like you're describing yet. But on the main screen, like you have like your recently played games, and right below that is usually a couple of advertisements that have nothing to do
different
with
games and movies,
promoting like
or
a boxing match coming up or something. It's or like a TV show.
Yeah,
This is
Been a
making
while
me
Already filling out space on your front page.
This is making me so sad. I predict, I'm going to make a prediction here, and we'll see if it comes true in 10 years. I'm going to predict Game Pass, you will buy it to stop commercials from pausing gameplay in the middle of a game and showing you Call of Duty brought to you by Victoria's Secret. And it pauses the multiplayer live match as you have to watch 30 seconds of this commercial during the match. Unless you have Game Pass, where you can just run around and shoot everybody while they're watching the commercial.
That would be terrible, but
I hope.
I don't know. I don't think it would get that intrusive, but you never know.
Won't.
You
but
never know.
You know they want to do that, and I probably just put
probably
that
do,
into the
yeah.
universe.
Well, they have like
They
games
will
already, like
plaster ads
NBA.
everywhere, so. Yeah, those
NBA
games are filled with advertisements.
2K23
Gatorade,
during the
Mountain
loading
Dew.
screens. It's just advertisements. It's actual commercials for like Adidas and a ton of shit. Like I remember I paid $70 I think for that game when it came out, the 2K23, and I booted it up as the first and only 2K game I've ever purchased. And I can't remember. I was I'm just gonna do a regular game. I'm just gonna play the random teams, whatever, just to try out the game. And the loading screen comes up, and I'm just waiting for, like usually they give you like tips on how to play the game, and then there's like music playing. But no, it literally was just like a commercial started playing, and I was like, wait, is this the game? Like what the fuck happened? And it was just like a Coke commercial or something, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah, those games are literally just advertisements. That's all those games are. That's why they just pump all that money into it. The advertisements. Like I'm pretty sure the My Career modes are like, come on guys, you gotta get Gatorade. Like you guys gotta you gotta get some Gatorade. It's
Yeah.
like,
Drink
what are you guys
Gatorade, you
doing?
increase stats by 5 points.
Yeah, and it's actually no, you gotta spend real money for that. Like
Oh
you gotta
god.
you gotta get the virtual currency for that. But they're like, you gotta get the Gatorade. You gotta start drinking Gatorade. So maybe with Twisted Metal they can do like an oil company.
Like Amsoil.
Yeah, you get fucking BP on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, start selling gasoline to the kids.
Yeah, it's wild, man. I don't know. I think like I've always said this, like I play video games to escape the world. And it's like if you're shoving advertisements like that into a game, it throws me for a loop, because it's just like now I don't want to play this game right now, because it makes me feel like I'm still in, the shitty world right now.
It reminds you that the game was developed in the real world, where they're trying to make as much money as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, pay to win stuff too. Like that shit needs to never happen ever. Like I'm fine with cosmetics. Like you can shove $20 skins in my face, but I don't have to buy it. But it's like if you start shoving, like, let's say it's a first person shooter like Call of Duty, like, oh, if you want the best gun in the game so you don't get wrecked every match, here's $20 pack, buy it, get the gun.
Yeah, the loot box situation was like that. You get lucky. Gotta get lucky.
I mean, the recent Call of Duties have kind of done that in a way where
they
you
stopped.
can unlock
With the
everything.
blueprints or whatever.
Or they have there's like
cheese
weapons
way,
in the battle pass. So like, let's say the new intervention or whatever, you'd have to progress the battle pass to unlock it. And so you could just pay to get to that level, or you can grind it out for 20, 30 hours, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you could eventually get it, but someone who wants it right now can just
Pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the cheese ball way of doing it. Yeah, someone can just pay for it right away. That's why their business practice is what they would do is they usually make the gun that's furthest in the battle pass, or at least decently in there, broken as fuck. So people would spend money on it, and then they nerf it afterwards after everyone makes all their money off of it. That's the trick that they would do, and they did it with every season. And it's just a money scam.
A lot of these practices came actually from gambling. So a lot of people from who make slots for like Vegas moved into the game industry.
They hire neuroscientists. They hire like these intelligent as hell people to develop this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the first of this was it was Candy Crush with King, and that's one of the reasons Activision bought him, because King was mapping the dopamine spikes, like the behaviors of players, to find out where was the best point to put a high paywall to continue in the game, and how much pain they wanted to apply to the player, up to the point where they would just say, screw it, I want to keep playing, but I don't want to have to grind this out. I will give you my $1. Right. And they got it down to a science, and that's actually one of the reasons Activision bought them, so they can implement this into their other games.
Yeah, it definitely shows too. If you've played them, it shows definitely that what they do, and it's kind of something that just like you can't really escape from in games now, because games make so much money now that like they're really starting to figure it out and like use mental manipulation to try to make as much money as possible.
Right.
And it's kind of scary, like how much goes into making these systems. It's actually scary.
Yeah, it really is. We're not playing the games; they're playing us.
Right.
At the end of the day,
and that's how the free market's always going to work. Is they're going to find ways to extract as much money as possible from the consumer.
Yeah.
And they'll see how much can they get away with, and they slowly keep chipping away until we're eventually at a place where we don't even recognize the industry anymore.
Yeah.
It hurts the most when it's entertainment.
If only Twisted Metal 12 was able to extract money out of the consumer.
They could have stayed alive.
They could have started selling paint jobs, you know?
That is something I wanted to bring up too, that I thought was kind of cool, and I hope they bring back in a future title, was the paint system, because like they had the whole online community, like they had their own website for it where you could upload your own like skins and share it to other friends and download skins into their own game.
There's a little problem with that though.
You have to have some type of like
of the uploading stuff.
What do you call it? Monetization? Not monetization. You have some type of
moderation.
They can have monetization. $25 to upload your picture, and then if it gets denied, then you just lost $25.
I would just imagine spending that money just to upload a dick pic, like as your skin.
Oh my god!
I call this skin foreskin.
This is the only game. This is the only game that I saw ever that had like a custom skin system like that. Like Forza and Gran Turismo and stuff, you can design your own, designs for your cars, but it was all in game. You use shapes and colors and stuff.
Right.
This one, you went to the website, you found the car that you wanted to make a custom thing for. You download like the texture file or whatever. You edit it in Photoshop and then re-upload it to the website.
Yeah,
and then it goes to your game. It was so complicated.
It's so cool.
But also it's a clever idea, but it leaves the door open for some real fucked up shit. Where you can very easily just put whatever you wanted. Yeah. And I guarantee there wasn't moderation. They might have had like one intern like check it once a week or something, but it was
PTSD to this day.
You see it in the old COD games as well, like the old emblems and stuff.
Black Ops,
or Black Ops, original Black Ops. Hell yeah!
That's why they probably stopped letting players do that. Is because
people would draw like the swastika and shit, and it was horrible.
I can confirm. We've been playing around with custom textures for about 10 years, and that's exactly it. Is lots of dick pics, lots of very offensive religious symbols or not religious symbols.
Yeah.
And we didn't have time to like go through all of them and make sure that they were all safe. And but now that we have AI, we could probably put in some pretty aggressive searches in there that would catch this stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I'm actually surprised they did this for this project, because they didn't have AI back then, and I am surprised I did not see Meatwagon roll up with some meat on its hood.
Do you think they could have gotten into like legal problems with that?
It could have,
if maybe not back then. We're not as litigious, or we weren't as litigious back then as we are now. Like everybody is eternally offended now, and the law's willing to hear that. But I think back then you could have had Junk Wagon roll up and people would be like, "Oh God, I'm going to report this," but no lawsuits would come out of it.
Yeah, that's
I think
I
there
don't
has
know.
to be some responsibility from the developer to protect people online from that sort of
Mhm.
stuff. Yeah, you're maybe not then, but I think nowadays there is that responsibility
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
we
you know what people are going to do. Like, a reasonable person would know there's going to be a lot of dick pics.
yeah,
yeah
You can't be that naive.
we would just put blanket disclaimers at the beginning, like, "Hey, if you're going to modify this or you're going to play in this community, this shit's going to happen."
You're
So
going to see some dick. Sorry.
so live with
You're
it.
gonna see some dick.
If you see a car with some pictures on it you don't like, just blow it up. Like,
yeah. Kill
take
it,
out your aggression on it.
kill it fast.
kill it, kill it before it burns into your retinas.
Yeah,
Yeah, imagine if the single player it was like, if you were connected to the internet, it would like download like skins from the online. So while you're playing a single player, you see like all these custom designs on there.
unlike
That
the
would
enemy
be
characters,
man. Yeah, on the AI.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that'd be wild.
that would be great. Because like sometimes they do have different colors and stuff. Like
Yeah,
Vermin might be like brown or whatever, but no, I want to I want to see like Vermin with some like weird anime stuff on the side. That'd have been funny as hell.
that would be cool. Because I think what I saw, at least from back in the day when I did use it, I never uploaded anything myself, but I downloaded stuff that was on there. And I remember most people just created like the OG skins of like old cars. Like
Yeah.
people like recreated like a 1-for-1 shadow skin from TM2. And there was like somebody that made the OG Sweet Tooth skin. It was stuff like that. And I thought that was really cool. So I went through and downloaded all those. But yeah, I never took the time to actually do. I don't think I had Photoshop or anything back then. So
I wonder if the Wayback Machine has some of that stuff saved.
I'm
So that
sure.
would be interesting to go back and see.
Yeah, some of the
I
curse
still
shit.
feel like it's all a big miss though.
Yeah,
Yeah, like the one thing that as a player you're able to do, especially if they were going to release some multiplayer, is that yeah, you can customize like the skins and whatnot, but
hmm
I still really wish they were able to kind of bring back that feature from Twisted Metal 4 where you can actually customize a car. And
like
this
just
game
create a
would have been
car.
yeah, like create a car. This game would have been so fucking perfect for it.
That would have been cool. Yeah, have a
And
custom
they
cars.
they completely gloss it over, and the fact that you can make like a your own textured skin or whatever for your car it would have made the online components so much more I
Yeah,
guess involved and more personable to the player.
right. Yeah, I don't know. The only thing is they would like in TM4 it's very minimal like what you can do with the create a car. There's like 4
True.
specials. There's all the different voice lines or whatever. But like I'm trying to think of how would they do this in a way where you could create your own car and it would have enough options to really feel unique compared to somebody else you're going against online. Because like I don't know, maybe they could create like have a car creator section like Need for Speed does, but then I would feel like you're playing a completely different game. It wouldn't feel like Twist Metal at that point.
You don't think so?
I don't know. I would love to see it. I just don't. I'm trying to think of how they would get that to work.
If only we knew a game developer.
Right.
Hey,
Same,
Goodrich, what
same
do you
with like
think?
special weapons. Like, how would you would you have like a creator in there where you could I don't know, like have maybe like three different, what do you call them? Like sections with different words. Like
I
I want
mean,
this to be homing. I want it to be do massive damage, but I also want to go through walls, and it would like create a
well,
special.
well,
Like
well, I think it's worth mentioning and bringing up just because like half the time it's like most of these cars reuse the specials anyway, so it's like why can't we just
yeah,
do the customization ourselves instead of just using different cars with different names like and just kind of going through that route just because
so just
my
don't have
biggest
any of their vehicles, like no original cars. Just have, or
no
sorry, like none of
I
the.
think like a mix.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was one of the
I
things that kind of bugged me about this game is the fact that they had a bunch of the original cars in there, but you could mix them with characters, and I think it would bug me even more if we also had non
Yeah.
Twisted Metal feeling cars mixed in there too. Like I already felt like Vermin was that car did not fit in this universe. That felt like it came out of Rogue Trip to me.
I could see that. Yeah. Yeah.
Like because it was like one of these wacky-ish cars. And generally Twisted Metal is
Kind of more
cool
hardcore.
cars. Yeah, they're hardcore. They got barbed wire. They got metal plating. They got machine guns strapped onto them. It's like, oh no, here's a pizza delivery truck or a rat catcher type truck.
Yeah.
Which that stuff worked in 3 and 4 because it was a completely different tone. But this was clearly trying to follow the black universe. From what I could tell.
Yeah, it's funny you say that it looked like a Road Trip car because Meat Wagon pretty much was like ripped straight from Road Trip.
It was a 1-to-1. Yep.
Yeah, there's a vehicle Ozone that's exactly the same car, and then there was another vehicle called Meat Wagon. So they kind of just like combined the two.
Yeah.
Like little paddy wagon with the Meat Wagon. But
shit, they should have just brought back the Wienermobile, man. They should have done that. Just did the whole.
I mean, Jaffe would have liked that a lot. Yeah, would have got the people riled up. He would have loved it.
Hell yeah.
But, I read somewhere that like Kamikaze in the game, like the Audi R8 looking car, the sports car, was supposed to be Spectre.
Yeah, it was.
Which makes me think, why not just do Spectre then?
Yeah, why did they change that?
That's kind of what my point is. Like, if they were going that direction anyways, why not just commit?
Right.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah. I think they got into that weird syndrome that you do where you've done the franchise a bunch of times and it's just like, you know what? That stuff we did that everybody loves, it's really cool. I'm kind of burnt out on it. I want to do something completely new. And then it's not well received.
Well, it's like,
so it's just like,
yeah, like I'm fine with new cars. Like I'm totally fine with new characters and stuff like that. That doesn't bother me at all. But it's like, at least make the new character feel different than one that's already in the game. Like Kamikaze literally is just Crimson Fury, but shittier. So
I like Kamikaze better than in Crimson Fury, to be honest.
Do you?
Oh, Crimson Fury was in it. You mean Spectre, right?
No. Crimson Fury's in there, and then Kamikaze.
They're both in the game. Yeah, Kamikaze and Crimson Fury. They're both fast cars with low armor and a flamethrower.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying Kamikaze was the replacement for Crimson Fury.
It depends on which it depends on which version of Kamikaze you're talking about because the OG one was pretty overpowered that you could use the free it was like a freeze kind of like
the freeze
special.
bomb is their secondary.
But it used to do like a decent amount of damage and I would just spam the living fuck out of it.
Oh, it did damage too?
Yeah, it used to do damage.
Oh, I don't remember that.
But then they patched it because bouncing, but what the fuck? It's Twisted Metal.
And I'm sure KongDoo can speak to this with more ferocity than I can, but there is a lot of redundant special weapons where pretty much every vehicle has another vehicle that does the exact same thing.
With the roster size, that's like inexcusable. Like it's actually inexcusable. That's just like what the fuck kind of idiots thought that was a good idea. Seriously,
lazy.
Like it's just pure laziness is all that is. Like Twisted Metal 4 has clones, but there's also 30 characters. It's not okay.
Yeah,
but it's still like it makes sense. Like I think 2012 has like 17.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly,
roughly.
I think it's 17, 18 characters. Like, that's like, I think I did them. When I made a video shitting on this game, I had it planned out like in my head of how many original characters like that aren't clones in the game, and there's like 7 or 8. And like that are not copies. And it's like, are you serious? Like,
and missiles?
You actually serious?
Well, you know why? You know why?
Pulling my chain.
Because they fucking, I don't know why they did this, but why did they go into it planning to do 2 specials for every vehicle? That's the reason.
That too, but it's like, I don't know. It's just, like, come on. Like, you had how many games? How many, was there 7 games beforehand? 8 or 6 games that you could just look at and just take specials from?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
you didn't have to be original at that point.
We've talked about this before, though, Kong, and guys. Like, it's every time you see redundancies like this, where they just kind of change the visuals, it's always because we ran out of time.
Right.
Like something went very wrong in production. Like you see it in Small Brawl, where it's just like, oh, it fires 3 things. Oh, it seeks like this. Oh, it bounces. Like it's just like, yep, because we ran out of time. And
this game must have been on fire in the development. Like if this game got teased in 2008.
Yeah.
So like I'm just so curious of like what happened behind the scenes. Like that's the thing I want to know is like what happened.
Yeah.
My understanding
what is going on?
2008 teaser, there was no game in production then. They had like some vague idea they could develop something for PS3, but there was nothing really like Apocalypse and Revolution were what they were talking about at that time.
Yeah.
So I don't think it wasn't full production for 4 years by any means.
I would hope not. I really would
Yeah.
hope not, for their sake.
And from what I understand, just in passing with some of the old Incog guys, this production was on fire. Like I think Jaffe and Scott were at each other's throats.
Yeah.
People were
It's crazy.
crunching.
Like, what were they
people
doing? Boxing in the fucking break room?
You know,
Body slamming
Jesus.
every day.
They had a very dicey relationship, especially after they launched a project.
Yeah.
But I mean, Scott apparently was really getting on people at the office, and people were getting fired, but also laid off. And then after this project, everybody I know except for like 2 people from the Incog era and / Eat Sleep Play, they all left the game industry after this.
Yeah.
Like they
Must have been
literally
that bad,
quit
like,
gaming
traumatizing.
after this. So it sounds like it was really rough.
I mean, Jaffe didn't even make it to release. He left the week before. And it was a big news story at that time.
Oh, yeah, that's
I remember
He
that.
was not there for the game to come out.
That's so wild.
I really want to
Yeah.
know the nitty gritty of what the
I
fuck
know. I
happened
want to know
there.
the truth, not. I want to hear it from like one of the employees that was just like not in charge of like how bad was it, like from their experience.
Yeah.
Just like one of the
Yeah.
designers.
Let's see. Who do I know who's on the credits here? I know
It's like-
Dan.
Like Randy
It's crazy.
Zorko, Mike Yam. I mean, Scott Campbell, someone's got to get a hold of him sometime. Like one of these years, they're going to get a hold of him.
I could. I don't know if I want to pull that trigger though. Let's see. I would rather want to hit one of the lower dudes I knew back then. But like Scott, you're going to get a different story from every single person. Like all the
Right.
disgruntled employees at Incog are going to have a different story than Sony, and Scott and Jaffe are going to both have different stories from each other and from the employees below them. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be tough to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah,
Unless
but
it was
at
on
least
video
it's
or
more than just Jaffe. Right. Yeah, it has to be like documented.
Yeah.
But right now, all we have is Jaffe's side. That's it. That's the only person who's really spoken
And how
about
truthful
this.
even is that? I mean, like
We
he's
have no
even said
idea.
himself how toxic he used to be in the gaming industry. Like he said that himself.
Yeah,
Like how
he's,
he almost got like kicked out because he's back in the Twisted Metal 1 days because of the way he used to behave. So like, who's to say he didn't cause a bunch of these problems?
Oh, he definitely did. He had an ego, and I witnessed it. And yeah, he was not a pleasant person to deal with back then. He seems much more mellow now that he's smoking shit tons of weed.
Yeah, yeah. Just judging on his streams, he definitely is a lot. He seems to be a lot more toned down and calmed down. But like, it's just so annoying not to know like what actually happened and like who was the culprit, or if it was just everyone just did not work together. Like there's just no chemistry together as like leads. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of tension between Sony and Incognito, and even Single Track. Like even back in the day, I imagine that came to a head once they were all part of the same company. Like once Jaffe joined Eat Sleep Play, I bet the pressure cooker was turned up to 1,000
Mhm.
compared to what it used to be, and it wasn't not good back then.
No. And I'm curious, before we get more off track on a tangent, with
Yeah.
I know Goodrich earlier you were saying you had an issue with like the AI when you came back to this game recently. What was like your biggest
Ooh.
issue with the game? Like,
What's the cardinal sin?
yeah.
All right, let me. Yes, that's.
I'm ready.
AI
I'm ready
is not
for
the,
it.
AI is not the cardinal sin, but let's. I'm going to preface this for everybody in the audience who's listening. I have not been playing this multiplayer. It sounds like that's the much better experience. So I'm going
Yes.
for a single player experience here, and holy crap, the AI is terrible in this. It is so. Obviously, they're following the same rules of the old Twisted Metals, where a couple will engage you, and then the others will just kind of go off and do their thing in the level.
Yeah.
Sometimes sitting there, but the ones that are engaging you, they're constantly trying to jockey into a position where what I'm assuming is to use the shotgun attack on you. So they're always right on the side of you and steering you into buildings constantly.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do unless you have that shotgun attack ready to shoot them when they're on the side of you. And they do it perfectly. They are on the side of you the entire time. They're running into buildings. They're running you into cars. God forbid you want to get on the health truck, because sure enough, as you're heading towards that ramp, here comes this car that's going to drive up next to the side of you and push you off course, and you're going to miss it and you're going to die.
Yeah.
And it's really, really frustrating. And on top of that, the cars always seem to be faster than you, regardless of what car you pick. I am turboing through the level, and there is a guy, I mean, not just following me, it's like they're hitched to my bumper, and they're pushing me around the level, and I am in one of the fast cars turboing, and I'm just like, how the hell is Sweet Tooth riding my ass this entire time, preventing me from doing anything I want to do in this game? You know, like, I want to go get that health, I want to pick up that weapon. Nope, you just got pushed into the side of a building because someone is tailgating you, or someone's boxing you in on the left or right of your car. It did not feel like car combat to me. Usually in the classic games, you'll have kind of a jousting method where you pass each other.
Yeah.
You might stop or ram somebody sideways, unload weapons, and then they'll take off. But these people, these AI, they would hold these positions that were kind of for specific instances in very inappropriate times for the pacing of the combat. And it was terrible. Like, it sucked. It felt weird and artificial and very forced, as opposed to a lot more of the organic combat I saw even in Head On, in the other games. That felt much more better, action-packed, and well-paced. And this did not feel well-paced. It felt really like they were trying to force scenes in a movie.
Yeah.
At
They were trying to
stages in it.
force a lot more cat and mouse, like running after you and you're trying to hide, but you can't get away.
It was so unnatural. If I'm in a fast car, I better be able to outrun Sweet Tooth. He should not be like tied to the bumper of my car, and like no matter what I do, I cannot shake the dude. And he wasn't doing a whole lot. There's no purpose to it, other to kind of set up this moment. But it really showed how poor the AI was, as opposed to smart, intelligent moves that you would expect, as much as you could in a Twisted Metal game.
Yeah.
Like, it really made me appreciate Black. I was like, as much as I hate Twisted Metal Black, the cars, they felt good, they fought well. This was not that. This did not feel like Twisted Metal to me.
What difficulty did you play on when you played it recently?
I played on the standard. I didn't get deep enough to go super deep on it.
Don't even try
okay.
Twisted.
Yeah.
Like, you want to see bad AI?
Twist is the worst, which...
Yeah, I'm not saying it was hard. I'm not like, this was punishing, this was brutal. It was dumb. It was just dumb. It was frustrating, which I think was the worst aspect of what the AI was in this. And that's not the cardinal sin I will go over later on, where they actually broke the rules of Twisted Metal, and I was shocked as to what they did. And I could not believe it came out of the studio knowing what I know about the tenets of design that they had in the past. And I was just like
a teaser. It's a great teaser.
Yeah. No, the normal difficulty, the AI could be annoying, but on the hardest difficulty, it's fucking rage inducing.
Yeah.
Just
straight up bullshit.
Straight up bullshit. I've never beaten it on the hardest difficulty, just because the hardest difficulty AI paired with the sniper rifle is the most complete, utter horseshit I've ever experienced in the game ever.
The only way you can really do it successfully is with
this game should have never ever had the sniper rifle, because how can you play like, how can you say this is a high octane game where you have AI that I feel like they're able to one hit you with that sniper rifle in half the time it usually is. Like,
not even that. It's like seriously like 2 seconds is all it takes.
Yeah. And so you're forced to a certain play style where you have to always constantly hide from the AI and just onesie twosies them when you can.
Yeah.
Because if they get you just remotely for a second too with that sniper rifle, you're fucking dead.
Yep.
And
the only way to beat the Twisted mode successfully is with playing the most broken character in the game, Juggernaut. and it's
Yeah,
like it's fun to mess around with it because it's so broken. You feel like a god, but
yeah, like it sucks ass. Like fuck the gold. I couldn't even beat through that one level, that the one desert map with the two juggernauts they have to destroy
yeah,
and if you don't, could the cars start respawning? Like
hmm
fuck that level. I try fucking camping up there for hours as like fucking Sweet Tooth for the ghost missiles, and
yeah.
I still fucking died. I'm like fuck this,
The easiest
and
way to do that level
I just
is
gave up.
Grim, Grim with the
Hmm.
chainsaws.
Yeah. I mean, I just thought. I mean, I was like fucking 13, 14. I'm like, fuck this shit.
Yeah, it's still a bitch though.
I
Yeah.
think Goodrich did touch on my biggest frustration with the game. Overall, I love the game, and I've played it on twisted difficulty, all golds. Like I have Warthog. I feel
Yeah.
like I have some authority here. But the most frustrating thing about the game is how the cars feel like they weigh like less than a pound, like that they're made of air. Every
Yeah.
time you get bumped by anything, regardless of how big your vehicle is,
Just go
you're flying through the air. Yeah, and
It was a bit
especially
strange.
especially when you're a smaller vehicle, it's
It's
exaggerated.
horrible.
And so when you're, say, Reaper, who for me is the best character to use in single player, just because how devastating that chainsaw is,
Uh-huh.
but that chainsaw requires you to be so accurate. And so when like a civilian car, not even like an enemy car, bumps into you, you're completely off course and you miss your chainsaw.
Oh yeah,
And
Oh,
that's probably been the biggest frustration for me is the
I'm gonna-
physics.
I'm going to segue another thing here, based on what you just said, in that it was a really, really poor choice to put pedestrian cars in the levels. I cannot tell you how many times I have gotten stuck on pedestrian cars or had them block my shots
well that happened
when I
in
was
Black all the
going in
time
for a
too.
kill.
Right.
What's that?
That happens in Black all the time too. I fucking hate
The
it.
density
head-on
of
as
it
well.
here is
The race cars.
unforgivable though, and
Yeah.
It feels
also the
worse. It feels worse in
trees.
this game.
yeah, it's a lot worse. Like also trees were blocking everything all the time. They
Yeah.
made some pretty significant UI mistakes in this. Like if you don't have a straight shot at something, they should have grayed out the name or the reticle,
Yeah.
so it doesn't feel like you could have hit them. And so many times I've lose specials and missiles that I just picked up, hitting a pedestrian or a car or a tree, thinking I had a clear shot across the level.
right.
Like Black, you could do that. Like if you saw them, you would hit them. And in this, you couldn't do it. And it felt weird for the universe that, all of a sudden these cars are driving around, mowing down people, and people are still just going to hang out and drive around the streets or walk around, run around on the streets normally, like nothing's happening. Like
yeah.
I see they want to add life to this universe, but like maybe after the first 10 seconds of car combat, everybody just empties out, and then now you got this nice clean arena to fight in. It was really frustrating to constantly be rolling into cars all
I think
the
that's
time.
a lot. The Thrills and Spills map, the theme park, all the little mascots running around.
That's
I
funny.
think it's a ton of fun. But
I
there's
hate
no
it all.
cars. There's no cars. to eat
Yeah,
your
there's no
shots.
cars though.
For the most part, I hated all the levels in this game.
Really?
I did.
Wow.
I do like
There's
Thrills
only
and
one level I
Spills.
hate. Thrills and Spills is great.
Yeah.
Metro Square, I think, is fantastic. Sun Springs, California is one of my all-time favorite Twisted Metal arenas.
It's
They're
So,
kind of boring though. They're just like they're not
visually they were
memorable.
great, and lots of destructibility, and there's lots to do in them.
Mhm.
They're too big. There's
Yeah,
too
I
much
agree.
destruction in it.
Yeah.
Like driving around the California level, I'm chasing a car, and all of a sudden I drive into 3 houses, and all I can see is debris for like 30 seconds, and it was
yeah.
it was so annoying.
That's the power of the PS3, baby.
It was just
Hell
like
yeah.
it was like why?
Collision.
It was like I can't see
Cool.
anything. I can't shoot anything. Like it was too much. Like I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to push the system, but they pushed it too far.
Yeah.
Too much destruction. Levels were too big. Levels didn't flow very well for the most part. And I like a good example. So I'm complaining about like the destruction on the California level, but there's the stadium where it's kind of like a stunt stadium slash
Oh,
gladiators.
Black Rock.
Black
the worst
Rock.
map in
What
the
the
game.
fuck? I'm sorry, but what the fuck? I'm fighting guys and I'm chasing them down. All of a sudden, a platform raises and blocks my shot and lifts them up to a new level.
Yep.
Also,
Yep.
completely negates any weapon I have that could hit them. You completely broke the flow of auto combat, and going in for kills. Like it was terribly designed, and every single aspect of it. It was. I mean, I was fighting the walls more than I was fighting the characters in that game. It was really frustrating, and the dramatic elevations is something you never do in an auto combat game because then you're going into critical depth territory where you need weapons that can basically go in all 3 dimensions.
Right.
Equally, otherwise, you're prevented from fighting, and you don't want to do that in this type of game. And that was one of my biggest gripes with these levels. On top of levels were enormous. They were so big. It was the same mistake they did in Head On, and I was just like, "What the hell are they doing? Why did they make this the same mistake again?" So
to be
I'll
fair,
say something.
there are variations
like,
to the maps. You can make
This
smaller
is
variations.
this is the
Yeah,
yeah.
but
I was
like-
gonna say
But like
now
the
it's a
map from
single player,
Iron Maiden, that long ass fucking map.
That's inexcusable. Yeah, I think they just had an environment that was big enough for her, and they're like, okay, cool, let's use that.
Well, it's
Yeah.
just fucking
wasn't
disgusting
unlimited
because
enough.
like you have to if you don't grab that fucking like little I guess the AI the fucking the
Limousine?
human meat I don't know
Faction leader.
yeah it just keeps fucking driving, so if you don't destroy it in time as you're getting bump fucked by the other cars trying to ruin your day, then you gotta drive all the way there, drive all the way back, and it's just like what, and God forbid you fucking lose the guy or girl or whatever.
Yeah.
Did you
The-
beat the
the-
game, Goodrich?
I have not gotten all the way to the end on it yet.
Okay.
How far did you get?
I'm gonna
Oh,
do that on
man.
a stream. I got
You would have hated the last
4
level.
levels in, I think.
Oh wow. Okay. So yeah, you
Yeah.
have like 13, 15 to go, I think.
Okay.
There's 18
Yeah.
total.
Yeah.
There's 18 total.
Yeah,
I
there's
did-
6 per campaign.
I didn't go as deep on this. I'm actually going to stream that probably this week.
Nice.
do
I
a
can't wait for
deeper
you to shit all
dive.
over it.
Do you have
Yeah.
the
You would hate
splitter
the last level.
to record it though?
I have an Elgato.
Because because it has that protection thing on it, so you need to have a splitter to record.
Elgato HD.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elgato HD.
Yeah, I still have mine from all these years, and thankfully still has that splitter to do that.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I'll hook that up once I figure that out. But yeah, I mean, as much as I want to shit on the levels, like extreme verticality, don't do it in these type of games. It doesn't work. The level's too big.
But we have
There's-
talent.
But
Talent sucks.
and it
Yeah.
it's I could drive into a movie theater and that was like big enough. It was like enormous. I was like, I could do a full fight here, or I could do a full fight in the stadium. And they added like 12 levels into one from what the old Twisted Metal levels were.
Yeah.
But I will say to Drew's point is they did a stroke of genius, and they actually allowed you in some of the modes where you could actually reduce the size of the level, and I was just like, fantastic. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Why did you make me suffer through an enormous level in the storyline? Because like the other games, I got down to one enemy and I could just endlessly avoid them, or they could almost endlessly avoid me, and it really again broke the pacing of the game.
I think what it is since you're still early in the campaign, I think they did want to show off early how big these fucking maps are. Like, hey, look what we made.
Mhm.
But
I was
as
about
you
to say
progress further into the campaign, the maps they start using the smaller variations. Like Grindhouse uses just the movie theater from Sun Springs.
Okay, that's good
I think
to know.
the Mean Juggernauts battle only uses the Diablo Pass or whatever it's called, Ghost Town Gulch.
Yeah.
So it'll start
Yeah.
using smaller maps.
It
A lot of the
feels like
levels
they
seem
did,
to be like PS3. Like, look how powerful our console is, guys. Like, look how big our levels are and what we can
That's
do.
exactly-
That's what it seems like. Now
Yeah,
that Dave talks about it that way,
And we're going to show off the technology. Yeah.
that's what it seems like. Those because the levels are like even just normally they're too big, like way too
Yeah.
big throughout the story.
yeah. That you hit it right on the head, Kong. That's exactly what they did, and that was always a mandate from Sony, was to show off the tech so
It's
that it would
4 years
move.
into the cycle, or no, 6 years into the cycle.
Like
though.
6 years.
I mean, still, you got to make it shine. Like you're still trying to move consoles at that point, because
Yeah,
they know they're going to
guess.
keep moving for a couple of years with the title.
Yeah.
But I mean, the same thing happened with Vigilante Arcade. It's just like, make it big because we can. The console can handle it, so we're going to make it as big as we can, even though we probably shouldn't.
One
And I
massive
think the same thing
oversight.
happened.
What they should have done with the single player, like Goodrich was saying, is like you were saying how, and I had the same issue too when I talked about 2012 single player, is that when you get down to like 2 or 1 opponent left, it sometimes can take you like 5 minutes to find them because the map's so big. What they should have done is not only in the single player have certain levels where it's just the small version, but if it is a level where it starts out with the full big version, have it cut down in size throughout the level, like a battle royale or something, like where, like, I don't know, some type of gas chamber is bringing it in. You know, they already had the game mode where it's the cage match that moves throughout the level. Just have that cage start out at the exact, you know, outer area of the main big level, but then over time it's like a timer goes down and it starts moving in and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, so you have to fight 1v1 in like a small little arena.
Exactly.
I think that would have been pretty cool.
And they got a great, you know, lore to do that with. Like if they want to stick Calypso in a blimp above the arena and basically like, oh, we're down to 2 opponents. This is so boring. And he starts raining down missiles and it's literally like scorch earth.
Yeah.
You know, around the arena, and then it's shrinking it, you know, and everything outside of it is a fire pit to kind of keep the action tight. That would have been genius to do that.
Right.
I mean, yeah. Sadly, they changed the way he acts, though. So he probably wouldn't behave that way because he's supposed to be like the devil, I think.
It's
implied
my
the devil.
Calypso.
And it doesn't really seem like it would fit how that version of Calypso would behave. If it was like Twisted Metal 2 Calypso, it would make sense, though.
He's not as whimsical in this game. He's like I think he's just like some
he's just hot
rich
now.
Yeah, he's just an attractive dude up in a penthouse. Yeah, with his nice suit.
What? But I watched the Sweet Tooth beginning where he's just like, this Calypso, he has powers, and I was just like, okay, go on. And I guess his powers is just to give you a stack of cash.
Yep.
Here's my power.
For the story, I'm not going to excuse them for just not doing it to completion, but it's for sure there's a lot more ideas they had for the story that they couldn't implement. Like Jaffe's uploaded a bunch of like unused cutscenes to the internet, to YouTube, that they just never got a chance to put in the game, because I think what happened was Jaffe wanted the style of the cutscenes to be like the opening credits to the movie Watchmen, where it's like a still photo, but it's like moving. It's like a living photo. So that's the style he was going for. But he got more ambitious than that. He said, okay, no, let's do full motion. Let's not just do these little stylized photos.
Why did he do live action to begin with? That was just stupid.
In his words, this is coming from was it G. Henry did a retrospective, like a 3-hour retrospective with David Jaffe. But Jaffe said that the reason why they went live action was because he didn't want to do the same style as TM2, where it's like the flash animation.
Well, why not?
Sort of,
it looks great.
He said it looked tacky. What? So he looked at like the game Infamous,
about that,
which had that style of cutscene, and said it looked cheap. It doesn't look like a
he
professional
said Infamous
studio.
Looked cheap? That shit looked amazing.
Right. Yeah, he said if we did that today, it would people would say it's cheap.
No.
Even though it's fucking Twisted Metal, like, come on.
Yet, wait, hold on. Okay, wait. So he says that would look cheap, but he doesn't think the live action cutscenes in 2012 don't look cheap as fuck?
No, he thinks they are, that it's a professional.
They look terrible. I thought that even when the game came out.
The green screening is not good.
Yeah.
It could have been animation well. Like, good animation is timeless. It'll last forever. That's why the TM2 cutscenes hold up to this day.
Right.
What doesn't age well is your fucking live action shit.
Yeah.
Special effects.
Like if you look, you can see so many green screen errors. Like if you have the eye for it, like if you are like understand that kind of stuff, like you'll notice so many problems.
The goddamn
most people
wig.
may not notice them, but like if you actually have the eye, you'll notice all the mistakes. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I will say that as a 13, 14-year-old, however old I was when it came out, I was blown away. I was like, oh, this is the fucking coolest shit in the world. I love all the quick cuts and like flashing lights. But looking at it as like an adult with an adult palette for entertainment, it's not great. It's visually.
Twisted Metal 2 had it fine. Like Twisted Metal 2's animation is great.
It was perfect.
Even Black was fine.
Well, yeah.
Like it's meme worthy now, but I mean it's still it holds.
I still
up.
think the TM2 like art style, like I think it's just like it has like the perfect nature for Twisted Metal, like dark and like silly like art style.
Weird.
It's really good. It's
even
it does like a perfect
really good job.
Yeah,
if I had to guess, I would say that they looked at the budget and the money they're burning through, and doing real good animations of any kind, even motion graphics, was more expensive than getting a couple people put on a mask, probably in Jaffe's house, and film the endings or the endings and beginnings for this thing.
They actually had a pretty legit like production going on. There's some behind the scenes stuff. It looks like a real movie shoot.
Yeah,
They
the camera work is fine. It's just the green screening is the bad part.
and the writing.
Actual camera work, yeah, that too. But the camera work's fine. Like whoever was doing the camera work, like it's perfectly fine. Just the green screening is like, all right.
Yeah, for the most part too. I think the makeup and costumes are pretty solid too.
Yeah, Sweet Tooth looks great. Which, Sweet Tooth. Yeah. It seems like that's the only one they actually tried with. To be honest, because the other ones, it seems like they're kind of just like, oh, whatever, just like make the character like get ran over by a plane. Like, who cares? Sweet Tooth's the only one that matters.
Spoilers. Goodrich hasn't beaten it yet.
I haven't beaten it yet. Sweet Tooth's mask was very nice. They actually did a great job on that.
Yeah.
I like that. But, I mean, the lady he was trying to kill, who stabbed him in the eye, I mean, that seemed like just a USC student in somebody's house. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was not this amazing movie quality thing. And that stuff is always cheaper than having a team of animators going in and then doing a bunch of, reanimations because Jaffe didn't like it. Like, it's much easier to be like, oh, can you just, fall on the ground again and stick your hand up and block the scissors again or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame, though. I would have liked to have seen the Twisted Metal 2 style animations again.
Right.
No, I want to take back what I said about the costumes and makeup. I just remembered Preacher.
I was gonna say I said that earlier. The Preacher's wig, dude, it's so bad.
It's bad. He's like a 30-year-old dude trying to look like he's 60. It's bad.
My God.
No
Aside from
makeup.
him. I mean, they were doing this in California. They really couldn't find a homeless person real quick.
No.
For real.
They could have just went outside and they're just like looking in an alleyway. But like, can you just come here for a second? Like, we got something for you. We'll give you a hamburger.
Just say "my God" like 3 times. That's all we need.
Yeah, it's just so weird though, because God, they put Preacher in one of Mr. Grimm's cutscenes, but it's just
his middle cutscene is there's not even Grimm in it. It's just the Preacher.
Yeah,
it doesn't tell you shit. It doesn't just like don't trust Calypso or some bullshit. He starts fucking rambling.
Down your Tower of Sin, I think.
That's the problem. Is like they were just
it's so random.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make any sense, and that's the problem. Is like people look at it and they're like, well, you don't understand the backstory, and it's like, I spent money on this. Like, I don't care about the backstory. It's just like, I spent money on this. Like, you're supposed to be conveying something that makes sense. Like this, it's like this random stuff going on, and Calypso's doing whatever. Then they got someone coming out at the end. I guess not to spoil it for Dave. And it's like, what is going on here? I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, I'm so confused of like what's happening. Like, what is going on?
My understanding,
it's ridiculous.
My understanding is that there was supposed to be 3 endings per character, including the Preacher, and they just didn't have time for all of the cutscenes. They had to cobble together what they had finished into something that's somewhat coherent.
I think they should have just because that's the thing is like, I think they should have just removed the Preacher entirely. I think it honestly would have made it better if they just took him out of the game.
Yep,
100%. It doesn't add anything or change anything. It just makes people like, what is going on?
The more I hear about like the cut, animated endings, or the fact they had 3 different endings, they had to hobble it together into one ending. This sounded like it was a rough production, man.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm so curious of what was going on behind the studio. Like, I'm just curious. I really want to know what was going on.
These are all the red flags I've seen on so many other projects, but it sounds like all of them combined. So I agree. Also, what the hell, Kong? You just spoiled the ending. I'm not going to play this now. Hey, everybody listening, I'm not going to play 2012 on stream now because Kong ruined it.
Oh, but you haven't even seen the super secret ending.
I didn't spoil the secret ending though.
It's a woman in a sledgehammer.
It's all right. Yeah. I read the sub context in there. So thanks, man.
God damn it.
I don't think you would have been excited anyway. So I think it's all right.
You would have been.
All right. I'll play it.
No, you still got to experience the final boss. That's the thing. You gotta experience that fun, that great design of a battle.
Should I tether the controller to my hand so I don't throw it into the TV?
Yes.
Oh, speaking of the controller, that actually reminds me of a problem with this game. Is like if you don't have a first-party controller, you can't do that turbo thing.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it really screws with players because it's like you can't even do the tutorial because it's like you got to do this and it's like I don't have a first party controller so I can't, and
Yep.
it's like if you're a trophy hunter you can't get that.
But I think that's probably a thing Sony pushed for, was like, hey, we have this cool technology in our controller. Make sure you implement
Yeah.
it.
That's actually the reason.
It smells like the
that's the reason why it was a PS3 not PS4 release.
Yeah,
That's
just so
the
they could
only
just-
reason.
PS4 had the DualShock, or had the 6 Sense in it, didn't it?
I don't know. Does
yeah,
it?
They would use that
PS4
stupid
does.
touchpad too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
you can do the
Sony-
touchpad or something.
You're right. Sony does that all the time. They want you to use their tech. That's why
Yeah.
the guys playing Patapon on, was it PS4? And they
Uh-huh.
remap the controls so they have that like weird touchpad on the controller.
Yeah.
In order to like launch a mission, you just gotta like touch this little pad to do it instead of a button. I'm just like, this is weird, and it feels weird to just be like,
That's like in the new Spider-Man 2 on PS5 to like answer your phone in that game, because like the way they set
Yep.
up the missions is like you swipe left on the touchpad and
yeah,
it brings up this menu to like answer missions, or if you have to take out your camera to take a picture of a certain area for an achievement, you swipe up to bring up the camera. And I'm like, this feels so fucking weird after you're like, everything else is a button input, and now you got to remember to tell yourself, oh, this is actually a touchscreen on my controller that I have to swipe in different directions to do different options.
yeah. Developers hate this shit, and Sony always does this with like new gimmicks on either their console or their controllers. And we're always just like, fine, we have to do this to get our next paycheck.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna swipe left not to see dick pics on the car. So that's gonna be what we're gonna do with the touchpad on this. There you go, Sony. I hope you're happy.
It just hurts the game though because like that turbo function's really useful. Like it's very helpful
It
to do
is.
that.
It's great.
So if you don't have a first party controller, you just can't do it, and it really screws you over because it helps you get out of a lot of situations. It helps with races, especially like, and you just can't do it if you don't have the controller, which sucks.
And it's also just super satisfying if you land a kill with that turbo boost.
Yeah,
there's
ramming with
no better
Darkseid?
feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, with dark, like it's like Darkseid special basically. And if you get a kill, it's the coolest thing you've ever done in a Twisted Metal game. But only a handful of people can experience that because
Wait,
the
that
DualShock's
mean's this
free.
game's pay to win because like the people that have first party controllers,
Hold
the people that
up.
have first party controllers can do that attack, and the people that don't can't do it.
Genius
So
take.
That means it's pay to win.
It's pay to win, actual. Confirmed.
Did anybody
Well-
else find the controls a little weird compared to
Yes.
other Twisted Metals?
Yes, for some
No, I
reason
love
they
it.
swapped the R2 and L2, right? They're backwards.
And
Yeah.
well,
You
because the
can't-
fire button in Call of Duty is the R2, so I think they wanted the main shooting button to be Call of Duty.
Yeah. And you can't remap it. I couldn't find
Yeah,
or at least
you
I couldn't
can't
find a way to
remap
remap them.
Mhm.
It just gave me like 3 selections of equally shitty control schemes, or
Yep.
not shitty, but foreign control schemes compared to the other Twisted Metals. And it I was fighting the controls a lot in the first couple of levels.
Yeah. I don't know
Well,
why
what
they switched it
specifically
up.
did you not like about it? Because the only thing I can think of is they swapped L2 R2. Everything else I think is the same. And then energy attacks, I guess, are now mapped to a
I'll
single
dig
button.
more into that this week, and I can't really verbalize why it did not feel right to me.
Is it
didn't
how the
feel-
game controls? Like very loose? Because it is kind of loose compared to a lot of the
It's
other
twitchy.
games.
It's very twitchy.
It was
Yeah.
different than that. It was something to do with launching the attacks when I wanted to. I think maybe I found some bugs in it where when I got low health, I couldn't drive anymore. Like I couldn't accelerate or go in reverse, and I wonder if it was a bug. And it was
What the hell?
super frustrating.
I never
I
had that
remember
happen to me.
Yeah, that's
Getting
that's
rammed
new to
into a
me.
wall, and I tried to reverse with the stick, and then it wouldn't let me, and I just ended up dying at that point. I was like, what the hell? And then I thought it was just me and kind of my stupid fingers. But when I got Meatwagon low on health, it just sat there, and it sat there for like 30 seconds
Oh.
unmoving when it was I think its last 20% health, and I just shot it until it's dead. And I was like, oh,
That's
maybe this
interesting.
isn't me. Like,
That
and
might
then
be
a couple
glitch.
times it could be a glitch.
Yeah, I've never
And-
seen that.
I've never ever seen that.
Interesting. Yeah, I experienced that a couple of times where I just could not go in reverse. I also couldn't accelerate like I could normally when I was very low health.
Are you
I
using
wonder
a
if you-
PS3 like exclusive controller, or is it an aftermarket?
Nope, it is. It's all original.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like,
I don't know.
if you have a PS3 that's connected to the internet, does it update Twisted Metal?
Mine is not. My PS3 is not connected to the internet.
Maybe it's like, I don't know if this is possible, if it's like an old version of the game, like the launch version.
Yeah.
Interesting.
'Cause it was a very buggy game when it came out.
Okay, that would explain it because it's not patched. It is fresh off the disc when I played it.
That's got
Yeah,
that makes sense then. It's probably just a bug, most likely.
Wait, so that means he could have the broken kamikaze.
That's right.
Probably.
Yeah, you can do all the testing of the old version.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
All right. I will try it this week and let you know.
Yes, that'd be
How
cool.
old is your PlayStation? When's the last time you connected to the internet?
Oh gosh. I would say at least 6 years.
Oh, that's
Really?
amazing. Wow.
That means that's like a really old its system update is very old then.
Well, not
Yeah,
necessarily.
that's
I
what
mean,
I
the
was
last
asking.
What is-
update to PS3 was probably like 10 years ago.
I mean, I was in the game industry. I just buy shit, like, or get it for free from friends, and then
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily play a lot on the PS3. I did a lot of what was it, Dragon's Crown, which is just a fantastic game if you haven't played it. Actually,
Never
that
heard
would
of
be
it.
a fun one for us to do as a group if I can get it working online.
Oh yeah, I would try it. I'd never heard of it, but I would give it a try.
Oh, it's a Japanese company called Vanillaware, and they do visually beautiful stuff. And it is
Cool.
imagine Castle Crashers, but with like semi-serious looking different characters, like a knight, a witch, a wizard, a elf.
It's like Gauntlet.
It's like Gauntlet, but a side scroller. But it looks like
Okay.
as if a master oil painter had painted this thing. Like it is a feast for the eyes. So,
Ooh.
yeah, I'll throw it in our Discord and we can discuss it later. Maybe a future Friday thing or something,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
or we can
Yeah.
emulate it too. But you will like it when you see it. It's a lot of fun.
Hell yeah. Yeah, with this game, I feel like we've only talked negative about it. There are some things I do like about 2012 though. Like I think it's pretty obvious the multiplayer is where it's at. It's the best part of it. But the gameplay itself, I know Drew's already talked about this a little bit today, but the gameplay I think is probably my favorite part of the game, and honestly some of my favorite in the entire series. I just like the feeling of the vehicles. I don't like the physics. I will say that, like Drew was saying earlier, every car feels super light, like they fill it with helium. So like if you get hit by a Juggernaut, you just go flying out of the game. It makes no sense.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
But like I like the sense of speed. I think is perfect. I like that the energy attacks are bound to just one button on the directional pad. You don't have to type in a code anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best decision they made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do like that system. I like being able to drift around corners and do quick 180s and control your car midair. I do like that. Like all that feels great. I feel the missiles all feel good. I don't really have a missile that I hate. I do think they went a little bit overboard with the ones that involve you holding down a button for a long period of time, like with a charging window, basically.
Like Death Warrant or Roadkill, their alternate special has like 3 stages of charge up. So
Yeah,
you hold it down, you press it again, hold it down, press it again, hold it down.
Yeah,
It's
there's
also like
just
the
too many.
stalker missile, I think, that does it as well, where you just have to
Yeah.
hold it down for like 5 seconds.
Yeah,
Right.
well, you
Do an
don't
extra
have to
damage.
hold it down. It's just the longer you hold it, the more homing it has. So if the
bigger
enemy's
it
right in
does.
front of you, you can just like fire and forget.
Yeah, it's basically a power missile, it's just a little better.
Right.
But like, yeah, so I like what they did with a lot of the gameplay situations. The only thing I don't like about the gameplay, other than the physics, is the level design. And there are some great levels in the game, but I like Dave was saying, I would think it would do a lot better if they just were smaller in general. Or if they have this massive level, just have it get smaller over time to like bring you into the action, to make the game always up front in your face, crazy, chaotic fun. And I think it would have been a lot better. But that's kind of like my biggest thing with this game is the gameplay is great, but it's just overshadowed by the really just lackluster story. Only 3 stories in general, 3 characters, and then the terrible bosses. I Brothers Grimm is okay, but Iron Maiden, and then the final one. I don't want to give it away because Dave hasn't gotten there yet. But
They're just
like,
obnoxious.
my God,
They're annoying. They're just not fun. That's all it really is.
I
Just-
saw some videos on it, so you're not spoiling it. I heard about the
okay.
Iron Maiden.
yeah.
It's-
they're-
I actually enjoy Iron Maiden. I like if I play it once
Why?
in a while, I have fun.
Why?
I don't know. It is kind of fun. It can be frustrating if it doesn't go right. Like I will restart if like the limousine gets too far away or something, but I do enjoy the mechanic. Like I guess I like the idea of it versus the execution. Like I'm very forgiving
That's
for
fair.
an idea that just seems fun. Because like, destroying a vehicle, picking up a faction leader, sacrificing them to a missile launcher, then launching the missile and directing it into Iron Maiden. It's cool. Like on a spreadsheet, like if you just like
Yeah.
write it down in bullet points, it's pretty fucking cool. But actually accomplishing it can be frustrating for sure.
Well, yeah,
Mine-
because half the battle is that fucking faction leader. The other half is landing the missile. She keeps backing up.
She'll
throughout the whole
dodge it. You
fucking
can't
map.
hit her. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like she keeps like the map is so fucking long as it is, and she keeps backing up and
It just
backing up and
backs up.
backing up.
Yeah.
And
I'm
and
like,
it's
damn.
really hard to dodge her, like the balls flying at it that actually
Yeah.
home in on you. You can only take like
And then you have
3
to-
hits and it
yeah.
explodes.
Yeah, because you can shield, but it uses up your fuel. So you're like, okay, do I have enough fuel to like get to her, or
Right.
do I shield?
And
Yeah,
that's-
it
yeah,
can
it's
be
like
bad.
you never know. Like it depends on how the AI reacts whenever you shoot the missile at her. But
Yeah.
Sometimes you get
fucking hate
lucky
that
and she
shit.
doesn't move at all. She just fucking stands there, and you
well,
can just
shit,
get her.
she must love you, Drew. Shit.
Yeah, I've only had like one time that I played that level and was like, "Fuck this thing, I'm not coming back to it."
Well, it's probably on Twisted because that was goddamn. Like I literally almost broke my controller.
I hated it on Twisted.
Yeah, I
Horrible.
mean, I guess I use Reaper a lot for most of the single player if I play it,
Yeah.
and Reaper makes everything pretty much trivial. Well, you can one shot almost every vehicle.
Yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, gameplay is great. You know, that's why the multiplayer is so much fun. It's just a shame that the servers weren't good enough to really
Never
keep
worked.
people interested. They were terrible when the game came out.
Never fucking worked.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I remember when the game first launched, it took me like 30, 40, 45 minutes to find a match.
Damn, you were lucky.
Whoa.
You were
Yeah.
fucking.
I literally
lucky.
like would sit the controller down, I'd walk and like go get food, and I'd come back and then I'd finally find a match. And I'm like, yes, and then
yeah,
the lobby would
I-
die halfway through the level.
Wow.
I remember
like,
searching for a fucking game. Like I remember I put the controller down. Like I get back from home from school because I knew it was having those server issues.
Yeah.
Like finding a game, I put the controller down, and even like even when it was like 10 o'clock at night, and I've been searching for a game for God knows how long. I'm like, I still haven't found a single fucking game
Yeah.
for 6 hours from the moment I got from school to when I had to go to sleep.
I remember
you're
when I tried to
hardcore
join.
fans.
Yeah.
Yes.
God.
I wanted to play, damn it.
People on the planet trying to play it for sure.
I wanted just to see what
Yeah.
it was like to play against other humans because I never played Too Small Black Online. I didn't have that luxury as a kid. So I was like,
True.
finally I can play against other people who enjoy this game. And then
It's-
they wouldn't let me. It was an ass.
well, that was super frustrating because even the couple of times I did find a game, half of those times the game would just fucking crash, either the game itself or the fucking match, and
Yeah.
I'm booted back to the menu, and I don't know how it was for some people, but I know for me specifically, I remember I gave it a week just to kind of let things marinate, fix
Yeah.
itself. Same fucking problem. I gave it another week. Same fucking
Yeah.
problem.
It
I
takes
remember
I gave it like
after-
7
months
months.
to fix that.
I remember after a month, I just gave up on the game, just flat out. I gave up on the game, and it fucking sucked because I'm like, I never really experienced
Yeah.
multiplayer all that well, like some dedicated people, hardcore fans did. But again, at the time, it's like, why the fuck am I gonna stress out about some game that's multiplayer is not working when I can just fucking play a quick
Right.
match in COD. I can play a quick Halo match. Like Reach was still out. Halo 4 never fucking existed. So fuck this. I'm just booting up Halo Reach or playing Forge or something like that with my friends. Like fuck that. Like
Yeah.
that was probably that made me so salty. And then even thinking about it today makes me salty. And it really irks me that Jaffe gave up on the fucking game a week before release and said fuck it, I'm out. And that was that.
And I think
Yeah,
most
so-
of the studio kind of it could have burned to the ground and not made a difference. Like they gave up on the game pretty much right away. There was no launch support for it whatsoever.
No.
Yeah, I'm like, DLC, get the fuck out of here. Like, there was barely any support.
We never got Twister. We never got Crazy 8. We never got Yellow Jacket.
Yeah,
The game didn't even have. Did the game have host migration or no?
No, I think that was the problem. Was if the host left, the game just ended.
That's
which was my fucking problem when I did find a match and the fucking host left because oh, you hurt my feelings. Then boom, there you go. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's like World at War, like 2008 stuff. Like that's like archaic at that time. Like host migration was in everything at 2000.
Yeah, we had that on Black Online. Like that was one of the, I think Kirk or Mike Bartholomew's like genius ideas to do that. I'm surprised they didn't have that for this.
Nope.
But I mean, network errors or network issues take like 3, maybe 6 months to fix, and then Sony has to test it and then roll it out. Like by that time, it was done. Like if you do not capture that audience in the first month, even the first couple of weeks, you're fucked.
And that's the crazy part too. Is I played all the games beforehand, and if I couldn't even fucking deal with it after a month, I can't imagine how many people just dropped it.
Yeah, I gave up after. I think I gave it like 3 or 4 months. I remember I kept coming back like once a month, and it was still the same.
I cut off Drew earlier. I'm sorry. And I just cut you off again.
No, I interjected the weirdest times. I apologize. I think one of the most interesting development stories I've heard about Twisted Metal, again, comes from Jaffe, that retrospective he did.
Yeah.
Where they said that the reason there's racing in the single player was because they had a programmer. I don't know his name. I don't think he said his name, but he considers him a very... Yeah, let's call him that, sure. but Jaffe considered him, a talented network programmer, so valuable to the project that even though that developer, that programmer said, "Hey, we want to do racing. I'm going to come in on my own time and do racing." They didn't turn him down because of how valuable he was as a network programmer, and to see how the online came out for this game to be as bad as it was, like this was so. The racing was worth keeping this guy around to make this multiplayer. Like, it just doesn't add up for me.
It's not Gran Turismo.
Was he the only one on Earth? Like, that's
apparently.
Like, I don't want to knock him. I don't know how to program worth a shit. He
can probably but network programmer. Me, that's not game developer. What the? You sure that's his position?
It was a small studio. I'm sure they had a lot of hats for everyone.
Oh my god, yeah, but that probably speaks volumes.
That's like that's stuff they do in the '90s, though.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this guy wants to have this idea. Like, just cool. Like, let's put it in the game.
It's called Gran Turismo. It already exists. What the fuck?
Sure, let's stick it in. Not for a AAA release.
Right.
Well, and I think that shows for Jaffe's leadership, and maybe Scott's as well, of like he couldn't put his foot down for the good of the product. That he couldn't.
He didn't know what the good of the product was.
Right.
It seems to be the case.
He thought he was making God of War.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Dude, where's Kratos, man? I don't see him behind
that
the wheel.
explains Iron Maiden.
But that's Sweet Tooth. We're developing Twisted Metal. No, Kratos. Sex. Woman. Naked. Now.
Boobies.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm looking at the network programmers on the credits. I only recognize one.
It was him.
The rest of these guys they're pretty new. I don't see anybody who'd be so talented except for Mike Bartholomew.
You turned him against me.
Was it the guy that was talking smack to you at E3? Do you think?
No, that dude would have been a playtester. I'm sorry, he looked new, low level, and full of piss and vinegar. Like he had no idea what he was doing.
He's like, "Yo, have you played the racing? I hear it's pretty good."
Yeah, they go in laps.
I mean, was when you were at E3, was anybody talking up? Oh wait, no, it wasn't there.
It wasn't there yet.
Single player. Fuck. I was gonna say
if
someone was talking up the racing, then that's how you know that was.
No, they were saving the best for release.
Yeah, I see a bunch of new dudes on online software engineers, and then Mike was over them. I don't know. Mike would be the only one who could have done that, and Mike was never. He never would have pushed a dumb idea like that into a game, so it had to be one of these new guys.
You have 7 gates remaining. Don't miss a gate.
It feels more like, and I think Jim Buck talked about this too, where the programmer slips something in at the 9th hour or at the end of development, and they're just like, Sony's like, oh, it's extra content. We can say Instead of this is a 12-hour
Yeah.
game, it's now a 14-hour game. We'll just keep it whether it sucks or not. And that happens a lot in game development. So it kind of smells of that to me.
Yeah, I could see that.
I swear, my health was low the whole time I played that game. It was telling me all this time, but little did I know it was just how much I just
Health
gave a
is
shit. I guess
low.
I don't know.
Fine.
Your health is
Well,
low.
like,
Get
you know,
some more health.
You touched on something that is worth talking about. The narrator in this game is obnoxious as hell.
He's cool. I like his
everything.
voice, but like
It's a cool
he's
voice.
just too much.
You don't have to announce every single thing that happens.
Yeah.
Sounds like the announcer from Black Ops 2.
You
I'm
just
not sure if
died.
it is, but it
Get good.
sounds very similar.
Some people have said that when I use that announcer's voice in some of my videos to, like, you know, ask you to subscribe or whatever, and I've had multiple people be like, "Is that the Black Ops 2 announcer?"
He sounds like the Navy SEALs. He sounds like the SEALs announcer. I don't know if it's the same guy.
Maybe.
I didn't get his name, but it really sounds just like the SEALs announcer.
I always thought it was Sweet Tooth. It was J.S. Gilbert. I thought it was the same guy.
It
Yeah.
could be.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Which, by the way, he killed it in this game too. He was in black as well as Sweet Tooth, and
Yeah.
both times crushed it.
Was it the same one?
Yeah, J.S. Gilbert. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's the only part they gave a shit about. So I mean, it makes sense why.
I mean, that was the only part that actually was decent in the
Did
whole
you guys did you guys know that Mel McMurrin applied for Sweet Tooth and Twismel Black?
He was gonna
Are you
voice Sweet
serious?
Tooth.
He was gonna voice
Really?
Sweet Tooth. He did like the voice screening, but his wife told him like, I don't like the content. Like I can't be in the same house as you. So he quit. He like stopped it.
Wow.
But I like candy and ice cream.
Because like that was this whole thing. He was like, I would have probably taken the job, but I probably would have had to sleep at a different house, and I didn't want to do that.
I mean, Mel's a great voice actor, but I don't want him to be anything other than Calypso, for Twisted
yeah.
Metal. It would be bizarre.
I don't think it would. I don't think it would
Sweet Tooth.
fit. Like need to have a deep, menacing voice for Sweet Tooth.
What's hilarious
Yeah.
is like he said he
Unless
also
it's-
applied for Calypso, but they told him this is on Black, by the way. They told him that Calypso was already taken. Like they found somebody for him, but obviously not because there's no voice acting.
But there's no voice actor for him.
They
Yeah.
lied to him.
They lied to him.
He
Like,
got
bruh.
hoodwinked.
Poor
Oh,
guy.
Stupid. I
Yeah,
wanted to see Mel in another game. Like, so bad.
yeah.
The announcer didn't bug me that much in this. I actually maybe I tuned it out. I'm so used to after Head On, but
Mhm.
it wasn't egregious. It's not like you ran over a dog. Good job, Dick. And it was just like, okay, cool. Or you killed this person, or you picked up this weapon, or you did this, or health is low.
Right.
I only heard it like
Yeah.
once, and maybe they changed that with the updates because I'm playing on the cleanest version.
You're just too good.
I am
Yeah,
not
no,
It's
you're
good.
not
especially obnoxious on the electric cage match, because if you go outside the cage, he'll tell you. If you stay outside the cage, he tells
Oh
you.
yeah. Oh my God. You're outside the cage. Or you're out of
Return to the
bounds.
cage, or you will take damage. It's the worst.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
have lost the battle.
What else? Hold on. So we talked about the control mapping.
I'm not sure
The
what happened
health
to our
truck.
avatars. They all glitched out for some reason.
What did you think about the health truck?
The health,
The health truck.
Oh,
If it wasn't a
pain in
pain,
the
it would
ass.
be.
I
It's a
hate,
cool idea.
I hate that thing. I hate it so
I had
much.
trouble getting on the ramp sometimes.
yeah.
all
like
the
that's-
time.
Oh,
It happened to me a
holy
couple
shit.
times where like I try to go for the ramp and it just like my car wouldn't go on it. Like it would just
Yeah.
kind of like get stuck or it just would hit the ramp, I guess, like the lip of the ramp and just like push me backwards.
Yeah.
It's very narrowed and it requires a lot of, I mean, aiming and a little bit of skill, and pray to God there's no AI enemy around you because he's just going to come up and sideswipe you and push you away
Right.
from it. But
Or just steal it for himself. They'll do that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, that does happen. I wish it just pulled you. It should just like suck you up the ramp and just like
It
pull you
should've.
in it.
Yeah,
So
that'd
it's
be
like
nice.
it's
Yeah.
easier for you to just get the health, you know?
So much
It
like-
makes
Maybe not
me-
for a multiplayer match. I don't know if it's in the multiplayer, but at least for single player, it should just pull you up so you don't
Yeah.
need to.
Yeah.
It made me miss
Pretty good.
the health pads, the ones from Black and the other games. I used to hate those. God, I hate this more. it's so much worse.
It's so poorly implemented. I like the idea of a moving full health. And so
Yeah.
I think that does help without like the risk reward part of it. Like, okay, it's in this part of the map right now. Do I want to get it or risk have someone else
Right.
taking it? I think the most glitches I've seen have been with that health truck, just the way the physics are. I've had times where I'm driving up to it, like I'm perfectly lined up. All you got to do is just hold the gas and I'll make it. And it just fucking closes on me. It just pulls up the gate right when I'm about to drive onto it.
Yoink.
It's
Dark
happened
side
twice
is a
on
bitch to get up
stream.
on that thing
It's-
too.
Yeah.
Oh my god! If you're a big vehicle, yeah, good luck.
Yeah, I tried. What was it? One time I tried to experiment if I can get Juggernaut through that health kit pickup, and holy shit, does it freak the fuck out?
Right.
That reminds me too. Sometimes when you're on the Juggernaut battles, the Juggernaut will spawn on top of the health truck, like they're mating. It's hilarious. I love it. That's my favorite glitch in the game. I think is when they spawn on top of each other.
Yeah, they start freaking out.
Was that the cardinal sin you were talking about, Dave?
No, that's not the cardinal sin.
That's
Oh
close.
gosh.
Oh,
I saw
yeah,
the same
want-
thing Drew was talking about, and a bunch of little motorcycles came out of it afterwards. I'm just like, all right, that's how motorcycles are made.
Little motorcycles, go free.
But what's the cardinal sin? I gotta know.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, we
gosh.
gotta talk about that.
All right.
Teased it too long.
I know, I did tease it too long. You guys touched upon it. So the number one rule of Twisted Metal, and David Jaffe and I have had discussions about this in the past, so I doubt he'll remember it, was real physics. Twisted Metal has never had real physics. They were always mock physics where the car was glued to the ground, and that was because they wanted you to be able to aim, fire weapons, and always have control over your vehicle.
Right.
Mhm.
And they added real physics to this game, and I was constantly, I swear to God, constantly rolling end over end, flipping end over end, messing up all my shots. Drew touched upon it, you touched upon it, Kong also touched upon it, where the cars feel really light and floaty, and I never felt like I had full control of my vehicle, which is something that was never part of a Twisted Metal game in the past. They always, that was one of the things they always dinged us about on Vigilante 8 was, oh, you got real physics, you can't control anything, the driving's terrible, you feel out of control, and they did the exact same thing with this one. I was constantly firing weapons off into the air, all the time, and this was the one thing they said to always avoid, and they embraced it, and it hurt the experience for me quite a bit.
Yeah, it shows.
Yeah,
in
I
general.
honestly think the physics are worse in this game than they are in Twisted Metal 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Like they're really, really bad. And it's funny how Twisted Metal 3 somehow still gets all the flack for that. But the physics are terrible in this game. They're just the amount of times you flip over is just unbelievable. Like
Yeah,
it's
Which
just
game
actually
really
named
has the
David
best
Jaffe.
physics?
it's crazy.
Which one?
I'm
was-
saying
which was the best physics?
like for in terms of physics, which game has the best physics?
I think
To
Black.
me,
I think
Yeah.
Black.
Probably
Black.
Black. has
Black?
some of the best.
shit,
I agree.
'cause I don't know. I never really had a problem with physics, especially like in Twisted Metal 4. It just
Yeah, I'd say
always
4.
jive-
4
It,
Black.
it always
Or-
it always
It's just
it
getting
always-
stuck in the wall, in the
Yeah.
corners of the wall.
That's the only
only
fucking
problem.
thing. But like everything else, I jive with it. Like it just works.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
The
agree.
I never have a
reorienting
problem.
is fast. Like when you flip over, it's instant. You don't even notice it. Like,
Yeah,
it's just
which
immediately
in Black is
reorient.
just fucking obnoxious because if you flip over and you're trying to press the D-pad, you're gonna start fucking breakdancing on the
Yeah, it's
fucking
hilarious.
floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
that's like my only gripe with it. So I don't know. I guess they equal out. I don't know.
At least that was rare. Like I was constantly rolling, and I was rolling end over end, side over
See me
side.
rolling.
I had a couple of times where
Copyright.
I knocked.
Damn it.
I got knocked in a weird way onto my rear bumper, and I bounced. I like a pogo stick
Boom.
for like 10 seconds on my rear bumper, just shooting straight up into the air. I've never seen that in a Twisted Metal game. Like
I think
was,
that's also your early version too, because I think the physics got a little better later
Yeah.
on.
I will test that for
Possibly.
sure.
I
This
don't
week.
remember the car handstands, but I just remember the flipping over constantly. Like it happens all the time. Like especially
just
like an
going
enemy comes by,
flying.
just rams into you. You're just gonna fucking
Yeah.
fly through the air, and you're just gonna
Yeah.
flip over a million
Or even the
times.
weapons. Like I would be driving along. There's no car in sight, not even on the radar, and all of a sudden a weapon would hit me, and I just flip end over end. I'm just like, what the hell happened here?
Yeah.
Like I wish they put radar weapons on there. That was another thing. I was just like, I will say Small Brawl did that the best, was actually have radar weapons. So at least I could see something coming in and be like, oh, I got hit by a missile.
right.
But there would just be like a random
Oh, you're
explosion out of the
right.
blue, and I'd be like, what was that? Why did I just like flip halfway across the level for
Probably
no
the
reason?
napalm.
That is an early version. There is, at least on the versions I've played, you can see on the mini map there's like yellow dots that trace a missile when it's
Oh,
coming at you.
they must have
That's true.
added
That is
that.
true.
I did not see that on my radar. I was looking for things like that when I was playing this.
I think maybe a lot of your problems might be solved if you just update the game.
Yeah.
At least
All right.
update your system.
All my
Possibly, yeah.
critiques are out the window then, apparently.
Except for the cardinal
Check your
sin, though. That
sonar.
one still is a problem.
Yeah, that's still just as bad. And it's so
cardinal
much worse
sin.
because the AI is so aggressive. They're magnetically glued to you. They want to ram into you at every possible moment.
Yeah.
Damn.
That was the big thing, is like I was talking about the rear ending and following you or going on the side of you. The physics really made that bad. Like getting rear ended by a bigger car is just like, okay, I'm gonna flip for a while and all my shots are gonna be wasted while I'm doing this.
It's crazy. Like especially like what was it when you play as Juggernaut and you just fucking start ramming into everything.
Oh, you have all the
Yeah.
power. When you're Juggernaut, you cannot be moved.
You
You are
just-
the immovable object.
All you do is drift and use that whip tail, like the tail of it, just to whip people and they go flying out of the game. It's so great.
Oh, it's so great. You can one shot,
That's
I think,
that's
Reaper with
hilarious.
it. If you get some decent speed and just tail whip him, he will fly and be destroyed.
Just die.
It's so
Yeah.
satisfying.
So one
You
thing
just
we
play
did,
as Juggernaut. That's the game.
Yep.
there we go.
Yeah.
That's it.
I guess
One thing
that's
we
my
didn't
problem.
touch upon was the garage where you can go and switch cars, which I thought was
I actually
pretty-
forgot about that.
that was pretty neat. And the first time I tried it in this, I drove in the garage and a car came in after me and pinned me against the back wall and killed me in the garage.
What?
And
Oh
I
my
was
God,
like,
really?
why the
That's
fuck?
possible?
Yeah, it's possible.
Apparently in his
Well, in the
mode,
early
in his
version,
game. Yeah, not in ours.
In the
And I was
version,
like-
the latest version, if a car follows you to the garage, they'll be stuck in there for like 5 seconds and they'll just teleport across the map.
Yeah.
No, this
It's
didn't
crazy.
happen.
It's just, I guess all these like poor design decisions were just coming through. So just seeing the early version, I guess that Dave has. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't know this stuff
Yeah.
was even like a issue. I didn't know. I never played the game when it launched, but it's interesting to see all this stuff. Like,
Right.
Yeah,
how
I
broken
pulled
the
in there
game
with
was
low
with
health.
that.
I'm just like, okay, the game's gonna pause. It's gonna let me select a new car. This one's gonna heal up while I'm in the garage, and dude follows me in and rolls me against the back wall and kills me. And I'm just
Yeah,
like,
he's
this
like-
is
he's like-
horseshit.
He's like, this is a 1-car garage. Get the fuck out.
The only issue I have with the garages is that it takes the place of lives. So like you have one life
like
in this
that.
game and you die, and you have to restart the whole level.
I think it makes it more intense that way because the lives, like you feel like, okay, I can blow up, but I'm fine. With the garage system, you feel like you kind of have to preserve your life as best you can and get to that
Yeah.
garage.
Yeah, I
Maybe.
don't know. I don't like the idea that I can switch to a
Mm.
different vehicle randomly throughout like the tournament, though.
I didn't like that either.
That's the
It
only
seems like
part
they
I don't
wanted to
like.
make you like think about like, oh, I'm gonna bring this car into this level. I'm gonna bring these 2 cars.
Yeah.
Half the
into
time, it
like,
never matters.
most of the time, people don't really think that way. They're just like, I'm gonna pick this one car. The other 2 don't really matter because I just want to play as this one car anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
On
because-
Twisted mode, I do that. I have to plan
Well-
out which cars I use.
Yeah.
well, again, the
that's true.
problem. I think the problem with the garage is it breaks the flow a little bit.
That
It does,
too.
yeah.
Because you have to go, because if you do want to make that switch, you have to go fucking seek it out, and depending on where you are in the map, it's just you're making that conscious decision to stop playing the game to go switch to a different car.
Right.
But I think
Yeah.
Jaffe likes those decisions. He likes that risk reward, no matter how obnoxious it could
Oh
be
yeah,
for the
he's,
gameplay.
yeah, he's all about risk.
He thinks that just having a thought is being thoughtful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, kind of going into that a little bit too is part of the garage, but also I really didn't like the other characters driving other cars. It just didn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I
on
like
hated
top
that.
of
Sweet
that,
Tooth?
I'm selecting
Sweet
3
Tooth and
other
Axel.
cars to select later in the levels. But I also didn't like the amount of planning I had to do before I even jumped into the game. It's just like, okay, here's your car, here's your character. Pick 2 more cars. Okay, pick those. Okay, now pick a machine gun. Now
Yeah.
pick this. And it's just like,
Did anyone?
God
did
dang
anybody
it,
check,
man.
Check
Like,
did
I
anybody
just wanna
use anything
play.
other than the standard?
No,
machine
they all
gun?
suck
No,
except
they're
for the
all
regular
useless. They're
one.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some people say the rockets are useful,
No,
but
they're
those only do
terrible.
The
like 4
reload
damage or
time
something.
is so fucking
Yeah, it's
ridiculous on those
ridiculous.
things.
And like the laser pistol, I think is what you get if you beat the game on twisted difficulty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's supposed to be the best one, right? No, it fucking
It's
sucks.
horrible.
You
Oh,
have to
that's
charge
really?
it up,
I
it's
never
like
I
10
never
damage.
used it.
No, it's awful. Yeah, don't touch it.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Just
Well, I'm
just
not
so-
touching the
machine guns.
game, so joke's on you.
It felt like a lot of choices up front that were stopping you from jumping into the game, and these choices didn't matter all that much, which I think was a frustration for me.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I mean, yeah.
I guess we probably so we're not too long-winded. I got Drew, you want to finish your thought and then we'll go into like our last reviews for the game?
Oh no, my thought was just I liked the garage as a mechanic. I thought it was fun. I like that you can plan out, like if you're on a harder difficulty, you do sort of have to plan what you do.
Yeah.
Especially for like the Juggernaut battles where, it sort of goes in two stages. It's you fight the Juggernaut and then you fight everyone else. And the way I approach each of those scenarios is different. So to have the flexibility to change my loadout essentially is pretty good. But that's a very specific circumstance where I think for most people, they're not going to play on twisted difficulty. They're not going to play on a mode where it matters.
Yeah.
And so I can see why you just ignore that entirely or just think it's, intrusive. You would want to just, pick your vehicle, go through a tournament as that one vehicle. But I like it. I think it's good.
Yeah. I think it was different. I applaud them for being creative in one sense in this game. So they did that at least.
There's a secondary cardinal sin that they broke that was part of the Twisted Metal tenets, and that was turreted weapons.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Scott and Jaffe both said they didn't like the V8 ability of like weapons to be aiming backwards and killing cars because you couldn't see, what you were doing, and it took the skill out of it. And they actually did that in this game too. Playing Outlaw, I was constantly shooting cars that were following me and killing them without ever seeing them. So that was another shocker that I found in the overall design of this game.
I mean, that was in black. The exact same thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it as much in black as I did in this one. And I wonder if it's because the AI didn't follow me in black like they did in this one. Like they literally rode my ass, and most of my attacks were just always aiming backwards.
Yeah. It could also be that the accuracy of the special was worse in black.
Right.
Could have been.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And shorter. Like if I launched his special, it seemed to go on for quite a while as opposed to a very quick, like 5-second burst in black.
That's true.
This was just like, oh crap. I fired it off. There's no one around, and it just keeps going. It's like, I'm going to listen to this for like 15 seconds and miss everything.
Mm-hmm.
I like that his alternate special, like every vehicle has two specials. Outlaws is you get the turret, and then you get the turret, but stronger.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, that's actually true. I remember doing that a lot in my last playthrough after I got, I just wanted to beat the game quickly. I'm like, oh, Outlaw's pretty good. And I just started doing that. It was weird.
Yeah. It's like, why even give me the other one when I'm only going to use the
why
better
bother?
version?
Yeah,
because
you
can't come up with two specials. Just say so.
Yeah, because it's the better one because it shoots some missiles, I think.
Their other special should have been the taser.
Yeah, that would have been great because there wasn't any taser special in the entire game. They probably were saving it for Crazy 8.
Yeah.
But that never came through.
Bastards.
Yeah, sons of bitches.
That would have been a good idea. God damn it. Fuck you, Jeffy.
All right. I derailed that a little bit. All right, let's go into the scoring. Sorry.
Oh,
real quick about bugs. I want to say that the one bug that really breaks the game for me is on Black Rock Stadium. The platforms that go up and down. There's one of them that if you use a tunnel, if you drive through the tunnel, you get stuck in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've
did that before.
Just stay down there until you die. It'll just keep electrocuting you until you die. That's the one bug that I really cannot.
Is it a bug or is that? I thought that was designed to trap you.
It's
if it is, that's fucking bullshit. Because it takes like 3 minutes for it to kill you.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
It's a feature.
Yeah, there was another one where I drove into a tunnel and the platform lowered, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here and like watch the seconds go by until I can drive back out. Like the pacing in that was terrible. The level design was so bad for that. But I'll actually recap that when I give my scoring.
No worries. I'll get mine out of the way. So yeah, like I like the multiplayer. When it does work, it is a lot of fun. It's by far where this game shines. The single player brings it down a lot, though. It's just too much. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the classic games to me. It feels like they tried to be too ambitious, but it wasn't in the oven long enough. There's too much stuff that just didn't feel. It felt half baked. And the boss battles are just so frustrating that it doesn't make you ever want to replay the single player ever again after you've completed it one time, which to me, that's the biggest cardinal sin right there, is because I feel like Twisted Metal, when I think of it, I can go through an entire tournament with my favorite character and do it over and over and over again, unless it's TM2, and have a really good time with it. But like for some reason with this game, it's like the main one where it's just I dread going through a single player experience, which that should never be the case. But yeah, it just pains me because the gameplay is very good. I do like the levels when you're playing with other players who are real, and the smaller version of the levels are all great. It's just they're too massive by themselves. So if I was to narrow it down out of 10, I'd probably have to give it a solid 6. I was going to give it a 5, but I'm going to give it one extra point just because of the multiplayer being as great as it is when it does work. But for all the other shortcomings, it's got to be a pretty low 6 out of 10. But I'm really curious, Dave. What would you give 2012 after playing it, coming back to it?
Oh God. Wow. So this is from the lens of single player and not multiplayer. And I wish I'd played the multiplayer because I am sure it would be higher because it sounds like it's a great multiplayer game.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I'll re-review it at some point if I play with you guys online.
And if
But
you
from
update the game.
What's that?
And if you update the game.
And if I update the game. So buyer beware on this particular review. I know I picked a lot at it, but I do that when I actually see potential in a game. If a game is a complete dumpster fire with no redemption, I'm just like, oh, okay, it was fine. It was a game, and I just leave it like that. So I dug into this one a little bit because it has a lot of potential, like Head On did. The positives are, the ability to reduce the level sizes was genius. Like that was one of the major flaws coming out of Head On, and they addressed that for the most part, but not for the storyline.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of a wash, but I'm glad they did that. That almost feels like the first beginnings of Battle Royale reducing of levels, but not quite there. Which is fine. I mean, you're not going to be there the first try. Destruction is really good in the game. I thought it was fantastic. They overdid it. If I hit too many houses, I couldn't see anything for like 15 seconds, and that was kind of annoying. I really like the damage numbers they brought over from Head On, which I thought was great. The ease of the combos, which you pointed out, I think was really good too. We always got dinged on that for V8 until we did the charge up system, and then they hated it even more. But they actually did it right in this game. They did it really good. The jump on the shoulder buttons that was free cost was really good.
Yes.
And I thought it was that was nice. They did a really good job there. But overall, the single player experience, like the AI was awful for the most part. It felt weird. I won't go too much into it. I mean, I talked about that in length at the beginning of this podcast. It wasn't good. The maps were too big in general. The map flow was not good, especially the stadium with all the weird moving platforms, the weird elevations that just basically broke all your weapons. Like you couldn't hit anybody if they went high enough up in an elevation, and it kind of killed the combat. Overall, just on the single player experience without updating it. And the funky physics, which they never should have done. Like, that was a big mistake that they went to that model. I'm going to give this a 5. I hate to do it, but it's a 5 for the single player experience. I will reevaluate it if we ever play an online match, and we'll see how it actually plays with the updates. But from what I saw so far and saw online, it's not great.
Yeah.
Compared to the other Twisted Metals. And that's probably my lowest rating out of all of them, I think.
Yeah, I think
that's still higher than I thought you would give it.
I was going to say the same thing. I thought you were going to give like a 3.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No,
God
it's
damn.
a 5. Like, visually, it was well done. The controls are good. The destruction is nice. They added a lot of great stuff. They added too much of it. Like, what do they say? Less is more?
Yep.
And they just want more in this particular title.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my rating on it. So at the moment, until I get more of an experience with it in the multiplayer.
Well, I'm excited to see what you think of the multiplayer once you get to use that, and same with when you finish the single player. Because
Yeah,
I wonder if that rating will change up or down.
I don't know, man. These physics they're rough.
They
Like,
are.
they're worse than V8 physics in some ways.
Right. Drew, what do you think?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, like I said at the beginning, this game is the anti Twisted Metal 2,
Yeah.
where I love the gameplay and really nothing else. And I really, I mean, I'm thankful for a lot of reasons to make content and have people like watch it. But one of those things I'm thankful for is that I get to play this game. I have a reason to play it because the single player is so lacking that it doesn't by itself give you many reasons to go back and play it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do, it's some of the most fun that I've had in the entire series.
Yeah.
By far. And I don't think objectively it's a good game. And I think that the point of even asking me for a rating or review is because you want my subjective opinion. And someone's favorite game is never going to be the best game, So I think this is my favorite game to play in this series. Like if you ask me, hey, go for an hour and play a Twisted Metal game, I'm probably going to choose this one. Most times. I might go to black a few times, but this game is just so much fun. It's so viscerally satisfying, despite the physics being sort of, shit. But just the way it feels, the speed and the satisfaction of destroying an opponent, I don't think I can find a game in the series I enjoy more. Like my dumb monkey brain loves the spectacle of this game and the feeling of it, probably more than any other in the series. However, I recognize that it's far from perfect and it's lacking in many, many areas that aren't me with having a controller in my hand. So I'll be fair. I'm not going to make a dumb joke rating. I'll probably give it like a 7, I guess. It's a 7 out of 10.
Very fair. Fair rating.
And that's as someone who's, who unlocked Warthog.
Yeah.
I beat the game in the hardest difficulty with gold medals on every event. With Juggernaut, but I'm most of the way through without Juggernaut. So I think I'm the most qualified to say if the game is shitty, as far as like putting the most time into it. And even I'll say it's far from perfect.
Yeah. Have you done it more than once?
Beat the game on Twisted?
Yeah, to get Warthog?
Yeah, I've had to, because I've had 2 different PlayStation 3s that I've had to do it on. So okay. I did it once a while ago, and then once again, and then now a third time, almost.
Yeah, same here. Except I'm not doing it a third time. Fuck that shit.
Yeah.
Hell no.
But yeah, that's where I'm at. 7 out of 10. If I had to make a joke for it, it would probably be, I don't know, whatever Jaffe is in alphanumeric code. He's my boy.
Winners, you're up.
Oh shit. Oh man. Internet never worked, so 0 out of 10.
0 out of 10.
Damn. No, I'm even to this day, what is it, 2023 is about to be 2024, so almost 12 years later, I'm still a little salty that I can never, get the multiplayer working the way it would be intended to. Yeah, the way Jaffe intended. But I guess from the times I did get it to work and from playing single player, the only way I could feel about this game is that it kind of feels like a mess. Now that I think about it,
true.
It's just the storylines, like the way they did the stories doesn't make any sense. The only one that seems to me to be the more complete story is maybe Sweet Tooth's. Although I just not fond of all the cliffhangers, as if they're gonna have a fucking second game. I mean, that's just weird. But
yeah,
maybe
they jinxed themselves with that.
Well, yeah, and thinking about it now, it just seems like they just probably got themselves into a weird hole where they just had to put out what they could put out.
Yeah.
But I'm not particularly too fond of the stories other than Sweet Tooth's, and I don't really care for the boss battles all that much at all either. I guess it's just to say I don't really care much about this game as a whole. I like the OST, like the music and all that, like the actual, like the not the licensed one, other than maybe like Dragula, but like the actual like in-game OST that they actually made for specifically in this game.
Yeah.
Like I think it's pretty fucking hardcore, and even to this day I still like listening to it.
I think it's one of the best, other than maybe Black. It fits the vibe really well.
Yeah, it really does, and thankfully it's not copyrighted now. Knock knock on
That's
wood, I
good.
guess.
Yeah, until that changes.
yeah, until that changes, right? But it just feels like they try to swing a home run, and all they did was barely hit it past the pitcher. I don't fucking know.
They hit a foul. I don't.
Yeah, they hit a foul, except they
baseball.
went like behind. It went like behind the batter. I don't fucking like. I just honestly, when I play this game like the single player, once I get halfway through it, it feels like a fucking chore. Just to be completely honest. I think it hits the formula a little bit in terms of like you got your standard weapons and all that, but I can't forgive them for adding the fucking sniper rifle to this game. I just cannot on Twisted difficulty. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna let that fucking pass. I think it's the biggest piece of bullshit and that they ever did in this game. That and too much fucking verticality, and they add a helicopter that still sucks, and it's not Warhawk, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they did a lot of they did a lot of innovation in this too. They
Oh
had the
yeah,
factions.
like
the
the
factions are
and
really
stuff
good.
yeah, it's decent, but again, like it just seems like there wasn't much direction on what they wanted to fucking do other than that.
Yeah.
It
It's like
sounds like they were too ambitious for the budget and time that they had, and they just ran out of time on everything. Like looking at the wiki right now, they had a lot of really cool multiplayer modes in there, and I see they brought over the hunted or the manhunt mode from
Yep.
Twist Metal Black Online,
Yeah.
Endurance also.
which is cool and all, but
Yeah.
I never had the pleasure of experiencing it because the online was
Me
broken.
either.
Like the online was fucking broken, and I tried for a full month, try to do find a game, and it never worked.
Well,
But
I say we should try this mode as a group at some point and see if
we
we can
definitely should.
relive your childhood, because it looks like they put a lot of cool stuff into it, but it's very multiplayer heavy, obviously. Like
Yep.
single player was just not planned from everything I'm looking at here.
Yeah, and that's kind of the perspective I'm going for outside the multiplayer because again didn't get to experience it. But my score as it stands is it's probably a 5 out of 10.
That's fair. That's
on
mine too.
on probably, but and you know what? I have no real intention to go back and play the game all that much. So it's
Yeah.
it's either 4 or 5 out of 10 for me. It's
Definitely
just
fair.
like I would rather play Twisted Metal Black. I would rather play, now that we have a modded Twisted Metal 4, play modded Twisted Metal 4. It's just
Yeah.
again like halfway through the game, I'm just kind of over it already. I think the boss battles are just fucking just obscene.
Yeah.
It's just way over the top. Like, don't get me wrong, like I like the second part of like Sweet Tooth's like kind of carnival destruction, whatever, like the fucking pinball machine, like that was kind of cool. But like everything else is just fucking just way over the top.
But what
Yeah,
about
that
Sweet
last
Tooth
section
going?
is unforgivable.
That last section is ass, and the first section is forgettable. And I didn't like the driving one either. Like you have to like go through all the different like obstacles. But the pinball one, like that one I did like. But yeah,
It's a cool idea. It's creative.
But everything else 5 out of 10. I just don't care for it.
Yeah.
But what about Sweet Tooth going full Optimus Prime? Like,
No,
he's
fuck
not even
that.
half
Stop
transformed.
that.
He's full. He turns into a
what's-
bowling robot who can fly in the sky.
So yeah, so the thing is that I barely use that because again, on the hardest mode, you're gonna get fucking sniped out of the air, one shot, no scope, just 360 and you're dead. Like
Yeah.
that's it. Like the fucking AI just fucking rapes you in this game, and it's to the point where it's not even fun. Like I can go through multiple like playthroughs of Twisted Metal Black on the hard mode, and I'll be okay
Right.
and have a little bit of fun, but not in this game. And if I have to play the most OP character just to get a little bit of fun out of it, to me, that's not a fun game.
Yeah. Not worth.
It's not worth it at all.
All right, Kong. Send us off.
I set you up, man.
I mean, kind of, yeah. I mean, you kind of gave all of my sentiments away. I just think the game and the climate it released in is just like not good. Like I'm looking at it like in comparison to everything around it. Like not as a Twisted Metal game itself. Like what would I rather play? Like, would I actually pick Twisted Metal at this time period over anything else? Like, no.
Skyrim.
It's just, it doesn't have enough to be captivating to like make me want to play the game. It's like a one and done experience. It's something that you just play one time, and even still in the one and done experience, it's not really that fun. Like, even if you played the multiplayer, like, it would just get repetitive, and even still, like, it doesn't have enough to it to make it interesting enough to make you want to keep playing it.
Yeah.
Like, playing a single player should, at least give you like the grounds of like what you're going to inevitably experience in multiplayer. And after every game has like a honeymoon phase where you're loving the game and you're having fun. But after that wears off, it's like I just don't see the game having any longevity after that. Like, of course, there's going to be hardcore fans that are going to play the game and be obsessed with it and love it. But I don't think most people would really be that interested to like continuously keep playing the game. Like, even if they did add those other cars, like
Right.
the DLC ones, like, are they really going to change the game that much to where it's going to make it's going to make a big shift? Like, no, it's
Yeah.
not going to do that. It's not going to add enough to make people go crazy over it. And the stories are terrible. Like, they just don't make any sense. Like, I know it was like, the last minute, nonsense. That's just, I still hate when publishers are just putting games out that aren't done. But, people spend their money on it, so you kind of have to judge it upon that. It wasn't free. Because
Right.
people look at it now, like, you spend $10 on it now, but people were excited for this, like, people were hyped to buy it, and they pre-ordered it, and
Yeah.
they got a game that was broken, glitchy, doesn't work. And I don't see an excuse like to make excuses for it. It's the same thing now, like with games, like for releases and it's broken. It's just like, it sucks. Like, it's really like kicking the balls. And that's one of the reasons I'm not really excited for game releases. Cause I'm like, is the game going to be broke? Is it going to work like when I buy it, or am I going to have to wait 6 months for it to work?
Yeah.
And nine times out of 10, it's usually broken.
Yep. And you have to wait. That's why I've started to like, I learned that like you got to wait like a month and then buy a game afterwards, because the glitches, some of the glitches will probably be fixed at that time. So there's no point of buying a game at release anymore. Like, people buy like the COD games and stuff. I'm like, you're an idiot. Just wait a month. It's gonna be $15 cheaper anyways because of the Christmas sales, and the game will probably work. So it's like, just wait. It's like that's how I see it. And with Twisted Metal 2012, it's a really just disappointing game. Like, people were excited. No, there wasn't really any car combat around, and there still isn't. And I think there's just more negative than positive about it. Like, I would seriously give this game like a 1 out of 10. It just sucks.
Wow.
Like, the way I hold the game is like, the way I described it was like a cake. Like, you have a cake, you can make the cake, which would be the gameplay, and then the frosting is just shit. Like, the rest of the game is just shit. Like, it's like you take a bite out of food that looks good, and it's just like a gallon of salt, and then you just spit it on the table. Like, that's how I see this game. It's just not good.
It's like going for that apple juice. It's just straight gasoline.
Yeah, seriously. I know that from experience, and it's not fun when that happens, because you get sick for 3 weeks. And you can't stand up, and your eyes turn yellow.
That's a fair point, because when you said that, there was other games at the time, like, why would you play Twisted Metal? And looking back at video game releases early that year, this game came out a month before Mass Effect 3. And that shit was hyped like a motherfucker, and Mass Effect 3. I thinking about it now. Mass Effect 3 fucking stole me away from Twisted Metal 2012. That's why I never came back. I played the shit out of Mass Effect 3.
Mass Effect 3
like, I don't know if people care about Mass Effect, but that third game just was the pinnacle of that series, and so that's why I'm like, fuck Twisted Metal. I didn't give a shit no more.
Yeah,
I remember Drew talking about it in a live stream. Remember, you said you brought it to a friend's house before when you played it, and the friend didn't understand like what the game was, right? Was that the story?
Yeah, I was like an evangelist about this game when it came out. Like, I just wanted to share it with the world as best I could. I took it to a friend's house, and he hated it. He just, because I mean, at the time when you're a child, like, I guess it's hard to like understand people's emotions. At least for me, maybe I'm on the spectrum. I don't know. It's hard for me to tell people's emotions sometimes, especially as a child. And so looking back, I'm like, no, he was just being polite. Like, he hated the game.
Yeah, you're like, I want to spread David Jaffe's seeds, and this guy's like, It's
What?
like, oh gosh,
God.
what?
Like I mean, 'cause I just love the game so much. Like the game felt so good for me to play.
Bruh.
I just enjoy. I just wanted to play it more, and I thought
Well,
that other people would too. So I'll just bring it to them and have them try it out.
yeah, and like, and that's the thing about this game though, is that every time I think about it, I get fucking pissed off about it. Like I don't have any fond memories of, maybe like one or two things, but every time I think about it, it's like I always think about what it could have been.
Yeah.
What if the online worked? What if it was just a little bit more polished? I keep thinking of the what ifs other than appreciating it for what it is, and again, it just pisses me off every time I think about it. I don't.
Yeah.
It's just this
Yeah.
game specifically. I don't know why.
Pisses me off as well because you see the potential with the gameplay because the gameplay is very, very good. And it's
Yeah.
just like you're literally just watching potential just like fucking seep into the sewer. It
Yeah,
sucks.
which is one of the reasons I criticize it so much. But Kong brought up a good point that I was thinking about earlier. Is like, is this one of the first games that kind of like launched the whole patching after the fact on consoles?
I
Is this
think
No,
one
Call
those
of Duty,
first
Call of
now.
Duty
Oh,
and
no.
Halo was doing that. Call of Duty.
And they
was
were doing
in
that
2008.
Was that PC or
years
console, though?
before.
No, they always
Console.
launched patches for like earlier
Okay.
COD games and
Yeah.
Halo and stuff. They always had like little updates and stuff.
Yeah, I remember
Fix problems.
Halo 3 and Call of Duty 4 that those games were being patched way back in 07.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that became a big trend. Like up until I think Black Online, it had to be good. It had to be good going out the door because you could never patch that shit again. And then as soon as internet came along, everybody's just like, you know what? We're just gonna release it out there. We're gonna get our pre-sale money and we'll fix it in a month or two. And I was wondering
that's
if
what
this is
they
one
do
of the
now.
first games for that.
But what's the crazy thing though, thinking about it, is that no amount of patching would have saved this game. They never utilized that because there was no real team afterwards. Which is, again, it's just like, what the fuck happened with this game
I
during
mean, they
production?
could have. This game killed Eat Sleep Play. It killed the old Incog guys, it's sad because, I mean, living up in Utah and working with these guys, these were actually the nicest game developers. Like, they were genuinely nice people, really good, fun to hang out with. They were family people. This was the only studio. I mean, I didn't work at Eat Sleep Play, but all the Incog guys moved over there. This is the only studio I've ever worked at in the game industry that did not crunch. They made the product, but they went home on time. They went to their families. They had good work-life balance.
Mhm.
And it's sad to think that this game ended all of that.
Right.
It must have burned them out so bad they just couldn't take it. Dealing with being on another development team again.
Well, that's what I'm saying though, is that if that was the type of company that they were, then again, it's like what happened with this game?
I mean,
it sounds
clearly
like-
the leadership was not up to par.
Yeah, but it's just no
burst into
leadership.
flames at the end.
Or last minute demands from the
Yeah.
publisher were just too much for the studio to bear, and which is what it sounds like that was more of the case.
Yeah, it's just I mean it more so like I'm not looking for a specific answer. It's just I'm kind of like commenting just on what potentially was going on behind the scenes that just led it to be the way it was. I mean, obviously nowadays doesn't matter anymore. But for being the last Twisted Metal game we got, it's just it to me it just seems like the series really ended at a sad note, and not until like 10, 11 years later do we get a series, a live series of Twisted Metal as a whole that actually filled in some of that void. I mean, to be honest, like Twisted Metal 2012, I think really ended the series for such a long time for it to be in hiatus. And for the series to come up and have a live action show to kind of fill in that void, just, I mean, nowadays I'm pretty happy, that we actually have a series. But fuck, man, like 2012, I thought the game, like all of it was done, like no more Twisted Metal, no more Sweet Tooth, no more nothing.
Right.
Yeah,
Probably-
that's what it really seemed like that.
It
Honestly,
probably
it was-
is.
It's like the
I
nail
mean-
in the coffin the game was.
Although I don't think, even if it was the best possible version, I still don't think it would have kept the series alive. It's such a niche product.
It's not car combat is you can just put that into something else like GTA, for example. Like car combat is just like a subgenre at this point. It's like the 90s it was enough to be its own thing. Like car combat's not enough to be a sustainable product anymore. It just, unless you make it like a small indie title for like $10. which
Yeah.
obviously Sony doesn't want that for Twisted Metal. They want it to be a $60 product. So
And to your guys' points earlier, like
Or
if
70.
it was one of the first releases on a new console, it would have done better and probably sustained a little more.
Yeah.
But tail end on a sunsetting console, that just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah,
And-
but I don't think they could have made it to PS4. Like, given like the environment they must have been in at that time, I don't think they could have lasted another year and a half
Correct.
No.
to like limp on to the PS4.
yeah, no, like there probably would have actually been a Scott Campbell versus Jaffe boxing match at that point.
Yeah, they could have played that campaign,
Legit.
you know.
God, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
They
I
could
probably
have
would've
been.
done
They
better
could have
in
used
the
it to hype
game.
it up. Like it's just like
Yeah.
they could have had like a Jaffe car skin and a Scott Campbell car skin, and like you could pre-order like to be on which side of the team, and whoever wins, and you get
Yeah,
to watch the
hashtag
real
Team
fight.
Campbell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get
What-
to watch the real fight afterwards. Like
Yeah.
there you go.
One mounts the other, and then you get a bunch of motorcycles in the end.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and then they can use it as promotion. Like look how many people have pre-ordered Team Jaffe. Jaffe's gonna kick Scott's ass, and then just have
Gets
whatever you
wrecked.
know.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Instead
they
of the
did-
shoot my truck campaign, they could just have like you respond online, and if you do enough, Jaffe can throw a punch. You just got Campbell can throw an elbow here and there.
That'd be
Whoever
dope.
gets the most likes. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that kind of tribalism wasn't popular back then. Like Sony wanted to make everything look like everybody got along and everything was smooth. Today,
Yeah.
that would be dynamite. Like people be
Yeah.
eating that shit up. But,
Right.
Shit.
Oh yeah,
Spill the
definitely.
tea.
Yeah, man, there were so many good games at the time that why the fuck would you play 2012? Like I'm looking at it, man. Like I would rather
Yeah.
play Battlefield 3 or Portal 2 or Deus Ex or Call of Duty. Yeah, this game had no fucking chance, especially with how it released.
Yeah.
mm,
So I guess if we combine our scores, it's an aggregate 5.
Yeah. So
Sounds
overall,
about right.
5.
really?
Actually, maybe the
Oh.
one might bring it down to like a 4, but
No, legit, I added it up. Was
Yeah,
it
because
one,
Drew had a 7, I had a 6.
5,
two
5,
fives.
6, 7.
Maybe.
Yeah, so it balances out to it was 4.8. So I rounded up to
So-
5.
I think that's the
Damn.
lowest in this. The lowest.
I'm gonna
out of
bump
all
my
of them.
score up too.
For me,
then.
it's at the bottom of the totem pole for sure, like 100%. But actually, I mean, I still got to play the PSP version of Head On because the PS2 Head On might actually be at the bottom. So I'm not sure about that yet, but I don't know.
PS2 was bad, but not. I mean, this was visually better, and they did a lot of really cool technical things. But
It looks great, but
yeah, if you're gonna talk single player head-on gameplay versus single player, this
Yeah.
head-on was slightly better, and I hate
Yeah.
to say that it
Yeah.
was slightly better. Yeah, I mean, in kind of retrospect, like I always hate deconstructing a game and shitting on it like this because I know how much work goes into it. Even the shittiest game, it's so much work, and it's like it is these people's lives and their
Yeah.
livelihoods. And
Yeah.
this team they were really good
This-
dudes, and they
That's just the problem
pioneered
with-
this shit.
with products.
So
yeah.
it's I
We
think
just
it
got to
was
figure out
just
what went wrong.
It's just-
We gotta
I'm
get
just
some
fucking
new
pissed off.
circumstances.
I'm pissed off for them, all right? It's like I like yeah, they could have made a game, but fuck, what the hell, man?
The main
Yeah.
problem is just there's a transaction involved. That's the main problem. Is like people spend money on it and they get a piece of shit and then they get mad because they have every right to get mad because they're
Yeah.
working their own job and they're spending
Like
money
me.
on a product and it sucks and they get angry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's the problem.
$60 I'll never get back. You know how much that $60 is worth now? Exactly. You would and it's zero because I
$70. That's why all
spent
the
no
games-
0 because I spent it and I'm not getting it back.
Nope.
Yeah.
no, I get it. It was circumstances. Like it was a perfect shitstorm.
It
That
really was
sounds
if you think
like-
about it. The end of the PS3 life cycle, like everything was on fire. Scott and Jaffe were fighting each other. Everyone was leaving. Like there were so many problems going on. It seems like it just all like culminated into this like terrible mess.
Yeah, combined with
Unintentionally.
like
It did feel like the world was conspiring to make this game.
This is
flop.
really
Yeah.
starting to make me think that like karma's real because like after all the shitting on 3 and 4 David Jaffe did, like now it's his turn to get the fucking fire. you know?
Yeah, no, legit.
The
Yeah, exactly.
Lord does work in mysterious
It's
ways.
his turn to get the fire. Like he's the one that's getting
Hell yeah.
Getting
Melvin's
shit
the
on.
one with the machine gun shooting at Jaffe this time.
Yep, and throwing him out the window instead of Calypso. Like
My
that's
God.
that's what's going on.
It does
as I
feel
always
like every decision Jaffe made sort
Well-
of made the product worse because even the rating of the game was supposed to be T, which probably would have been more accessible to more people, or at least
Yeah, it
more
would've been.
enticing for like parents or whatever. and it ended up being an M just because he couldn't fucking contain himself with the cutscenes.
Oh fuck!
Yeah.
Was it
Well,
rated
I mean-
M?
It was rated
Yes.
M, and it
Yeah,
probably
Yeah.
hurt
it had to be
it
because
probably
someone
hurt
died.
sales.
People were dying, so they
People
had
were
to be rated
dying,
M.
and
The
there were
Sweet Tooth
soundtracks.
cutscenes are like grotesque. They're
That's true.
Like he's got
But-
some crazy plot armor in that hospital. Like he's walking through, just killing everybody in the building. It's like it's crazy.
He is God.
I mean, it wasn't even just the blood. Like the soundtracks they picked were like dropping N words like
Yeah, that's
every
true.
other sentence. Is like,
That's true, too.
wow.
I mean, when you
Like,
put NWA in there, you're like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
try doing that
N-word
today.
NWA.
I think Jaffe finished a playthrough of San Andreas, and he's like, "Yep, I'm adding this in."
Maybe.
Probably.
GTA 4. Yeah.
Maybe I am the original gangster.
Maybe I am a reincarnation of Easy E.
I don't know.
Maybe he is. He came back to life, and he's here to make Twisted Metal for everybody.
I will finish this off with so I think this is the last Twisted Metal we're getting for a while.
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
say that
yeah.
because as I mentioned in a couple of the other discussions we had earlier, Sony is having massive layoffs.
Yeah, I've heard.
Naughty Dog
about
got
that.
hit. Bungie just got hit with 100 plus. Connie Booth, who I work with, and her team just got laid off. There's layoffs internally on some of the God of War stuff, and Firesprite Studios in the UK, which was rumored to be working on Twisted Metal, just lost 100 people
Woo.
in the layoffs. So I don't think we're going to see Twisted Metal anytime soon. I will project at least 6, maybe 10 years out if it ever gets rebooted.
Holy shit!
That would be my
Possibly, yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Sony's going into a
TV shows
contraction
isn't
phase right now because I think they're freaking out a little bit over the Activision / Microsoft merger,
Mhm.
and they want to see what that landscape looks like and see what niche they're going to feel in, or they're going to fill into at this point.
Yeah.
They're not
It's kinda
gonna
hard
take
to
any
compete
risks.
with that, but it's kind of
Yeah.
it's like because that's like I think that's one not the biggest electronic transaction in history. I think that
It's
was
one of them.
AOL. That was, but it definitely is one of them. I think it was like 60. How many billion? 68 billion was it?
68 billion.
It's crazy. But I mean, obviously, it makes sense.
They should have
why.
added
I
1
mean,
more billion to it.
Right.
the IPs they're purchasing are the biggest ones on the planet. So, or some
Yeah.
of the biggest ones
Yeah.
on the planet. So, it makes sense, especially Call of Duty and Candy Crush are the two big ones.
Yeah.
Because Candy Crush is a fucking money sink. That game, I never knew how much money that game makes, but
Oh,
it's ridiculous. It's
It's
actually
crazy.
crazy.
It's
It's
part of
wild.
that, but it's
Today.
also, I mean, think about it. Who do you know who does not have a smartphone? Who do you know who
Yeah.
does not have a PS5? That is the difference. Everyone
also-
has a
It's also
smartphone.
China.
Right.
China mobile
Yeah.
gaming in China is ridiculous. Huge.
Yeah, I mean, it goes
Huge.
back to the fact like you can go to Africa, you can go to South America, you could go to the North Pole. Everybody has a smartphone, and everybody is downloading these mobile apps,
It's true.
and they're all free
Yeah.
up until you hit that dopamine velvet rope where you can start
Yeah.
monetizing it. But guess what? Saturation of consoles, it's a fraction of a phone, and
Yeah.
that's why these games make so much money because they're
That's true.
everywhere on the phone.
Right.
Don't you guys
Yeah.
Don't you guys have phones?
The classic quote. Yeah.
Well done. I know
guys have
exactly what
phones.
that reference is.
You guys have phones?
Yeah.
All right. So we cut out a ton of stuff at the end there. We got on a tangent. But yeah, we talked about our thoughts and opinions on Twisted Metal 2012. Sadly, it probably is going to be the last game that we're going to see from the series for quite a while. Maybe, who knows, something might pop up from someone we don't know and Sony's been hiding it really well. That'd be awesome. But at this point, it's just kind of grasping for straws. But I don't know. There's still a special place in my heart for this game, but it definitely needed a lot of improvement. Hopefully we can get some online matches here soon and give Goodrich and Kong and winners the experience they deserve with this game to see what it's like for the online experience. But
Yes, please.
yes. But with that, thank you guys so much for listening and for watching. We'll hope to see you next week for our next episode. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Peace.